from the TFNB Your Bank for Life studio. Now, it's time for the Smoak Show. Presented by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. It's time for the Smoak Show on 365 Sports with David Craig and Craig Smoak.
Here we go on this Thursday afternoon. A really good day as we bring you from the TFNB Your Bank for Life studio the next couple of 3 hours or so with college football content and more. And, of course, yes, the World Cup down to 2 games, championship on Sunday. Craig Smoak with me, David Craig. We appreciate your time. And, you know, this has been the week that most of the focus has been on Michigan and their AD, Ward Manuel, and a lot of discussion, a lot of stories, a lot of things being reported. And then we were told, what was it, yesterday at some point, Austin Meek even told us this, who covers Michigan, that you probably aren't going to see or hear much, in fact, from their Board of Regents meeting today. Craig, you could see the meeting, and we'll have that in a minute, but you couldn't hear anything other than a very annoying noise that was covering up the proceedings.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I made no attempt to watch the proceedings.
I didn't. So. Okay, well, this is what we'll do. This is from Real Tony Garcia, the first part of the story, that they did meet today. And again, there were even heads up that they were probably not going to bring up anything going on with any kind of investigation with Maryland's athletic department. And one of it, possibility that they are negotiating a buyout, or maybe some of the reporting was a little bit off center. Here is from Tony Garcia, the university spokesman, in regard to, they had technical issues at the board meeting's athletic investigation. The meeting has ended. This is from, again, to the Detroit Free Press. And athletics were not discussed at all. During the meeting, all items on the published agenda were approved. Now, here is from Tony Garcia. This is a clip, very short, of what the meeting looked and sounded like if you tried to monitor. I don't know if that's an MRI machine or a jackhammer or just did that like all of a sudden happen? There's all sorts of reaction to it, but that's what it looked like. And so nothing today from what they were discussing. And again, nothing when it comes to Michigan athletics.
I didn't attempt to watch it. It's a story that's of interest to me, but it's not as of much interest to me as it is for seemingly a lot of other people. And I typically get into the scandals and things here and there, but for Michigan, I think it's just been such a prolonged deal where we've been talking about them having some issues for 3-4 years now, and nothing's ever really come of it. There's been a little bit that's come of it. There's certainly been some attention shown on it, but as far as them falling off of a cliff, like I think Ohio State fans hope for them to, or something like super drastic to happen, I guess changing athletic directors is pretty drastic, but that seems to be the writing on the wall. It's just a matter of when, not if. But because of kind of the stop and start nature and the fact that it's been talked about for so long, I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, all right, tell me when we get there. And Ward Manuel's either out or he's letting people know that he's going to be there for another year. So I know there was a lot of interest in watching that board meeting, and glad I didn't waste my time because, that's a convenient little issue to have. Now, I will say if there was anything all that interesting that they talked about, I guess nothing came out of it on the other side of the meeting. So it's not like they, I guess they could hide it because we couldn't hear anything, but it doesn't sound like they made some decision and then they're just being like, oh no, there was audio issues and we didn't talk about anything. It sounds like they probably didn't talk about what people were hoping to hear them talk about. And I guess even if they did, then nobody was able to hear it. So it's Michigan. I know people because of that will believe they were probably screwing with the audio system or whatever the case may be, but it's not like that story is going to go anywhere. It's not like people that want to know what the end result will be are going to stop asking for and wondering about the end result. So this feels like it's all coming to a head and we'll hear something soon. But I guess if you were hoping for the big bombshell today, Austin Meek kind of downplayed expectations yesterday. And I followed his advice, being a guy that covers it much more closely than we do. So I didn't have grand expectations for big news today. Clearly, I'm somebody who's not in unanimous opinion. There were some people that thought there might be something, but guess not. Guess we move on to another day, and the questions will still continue to linger around Michigan in the meantime.
All right. So then there was that. And a couple of things. One of the reporters that was talking to the president, Domenico Grasso, you called Ward Manuel the best AD in the country a few months ago. Do you have any reservations about that statement now, or do you still feel confident in that? And the president said Ward is one of the best athletic directors in the country. And then, is there an update on the athletic investigation? Will results be released to the public? And Grasso said, that's under consideration. We're still thinking about it. So there is basically really what you wanted to know about, if you did care about the proceedings today.
Yeah, and I haven't kept close tabs on every little report that's been out there. I mean, at the beginning of the week, it was being put out as though this was imminent, something was going to happen, and we're about to roll into Friday with no news. So looks like politics are being played, and that's always an interesting factor in a lot of these types of decisions, is the behind the scenes and what's going on there. Ward Manuel clearly has some sway and some people on his side to the point where he's got enough to kind of fight for himself and stay in the fight. But yeah, there's a lot of people clamoring for him to be gone. So this continues on, and it's impressive. Like, as much as I know it's a thing that really annoys people, how much Michigan's been able to succeed while seemingly having so many different things behind the scenes or even in front of the scenes that are things that you look at sideways or just downright like not good, like the Sharon Moore situation. They've been able to keep withstanding that somehow. Yep. And so long as they continue to get results, I think that will shield people a little bit more than obviously if he weren't successful. Ward Manuel been out on his ass like a year ago, if not for the national title. So yeah, there seems to be this feeling that this is culminating in a decision needing to be made, but Michigan's on its own timeline. They're not on our timeline, clearly.
All right. Then also this one here, and you have your own opinions on this. It doesn't look good. On June the 11th, Ken Paxton threatened to sue the Big 12 if it sanctioned Texas Tech for fielding quarterback Brendan Sorsby. Remember, it seems like now a long time ago. The day before, Texas Tech Regent Cody Campbell, a Sorsby defender, donated just under $275,000 in support of Paxton's Texas Senate bid. And so that's out there today. Is it just freak timing? Is it something that you got to go, wait a minute? I don't know. But that story is out there today. And from most of what I saw, that's pretty much it. He's donated the campaigns before. He's donated to the fact that the guy who's trying to replace Paxton is Attorney General, but this was the day before, maybe just timing, or maybe there is something that's, again, a little bit fishy. Craig?
Well, if you believe that there was nefarious things going on behind the scenes, this is only going to pour gasoline all over that fire. I mean, seeing a contribution of $250,000 to a guy's campaign, a guy who then, yes, a day later turned around and threatened the Big 12 to protect your quarterback investment. There's no way anybody with half a brain that functions could look at this and not think something smells a little fishy here. Now, I will say, yeah, Cody Campbell is clearly a Republican. His donations are out there for the public. He is very much a Republican. I don't know if he's MAGA, because I do think there's a difference ultimately between the two. There's crossover, obviously, but there is a bit of a difference, I feel like, in today's political climate, that you're MAGA or you're Republican. I'm not sure where Cody Campbell falls in line on that. It doesn't really matter, but point being that he is, very much a Republican donator and has been. And I think that's been public record for a while now. Now, I've never tracked his contributions to know how much he's given in totality or one at a time. Is $275,000 like a big outlier? Does he usually give $25,000? And then all of a sudden, this time he gave $275,000. Like, that's the kind of stuff I would need to see to sit there and go, all right, does this track with previous actions, or is this something that is definitely an outlier as far as the amount of money? And I know that there will be people who clearly want to prove a point or have an axe to grind that will go and look into that information and see whether or not he is typically donating this way or not. Well, but it's not surprising to see him donating to a Republican candidate.
No, not at all. And maybe he's done that before. Like I said, he's donated 100,000 or so to the candidate that's supposed to be going to run to replace Paxton as Attorney General. I don't know, but that was there today, and it's weird because it's the day before. But there's nothing wrong with donating to anybody when it comes to politics. And Campbell's probably donated, I would think, over the years, maybe millions of dollars, perhaps to even presidential candidates. But that story, because it's the day before, and then Paxton files his lawsuit. Which what's so funny? If let's just say, oh, that's a little bit strange. And Paxton's lawsuits what screwed everything up and allowed the Big 12 and everybody else, and Sorsby's not playing because of it.
Yeah, and there's a little bit too much maybe and perhaps that you're saying there as far as his donations. Like, I mean, yeah, maybe he's donated this much before. Perhaps he's done that. That's doing a lot of heavy lifting. I mean, that will come out for the people who want to investigate and actually track his donations. I've seen some of them made public before. It was like $30,000 to somebody, some Republican candidate. His wife donated the same amount. I saw that not long ago. And I don't want to cite the wrong candidate other than I know it was a Republican. But, yeah, he's clearly donated in the past. He's clearly chummy with the president and an ally and somebody who's been up to Washington, D.C. a lot lately to lobby and to try to get his way when it comes to college sports moving forward. And I'm sure there's other non-college football related things he's probably talked about as well, but I'm starting to do some heavy lifting there to start maybe possibly perhaps, but what we do know for sure is that he is a regular donator. So that itself is not shocking or anything, but that's a large amount of money and the timing is awfully funny. So if you're a fan of Cincinnati or you're somebody who doesn't like Texas Tech, you absolutely positively see this. And yes, you think that there is some funny business going on. And I don't blame you whatsoever. I side-eyed at the moment I saw it as well. I mean, not so much the amount. The only thing that took me back about that was just when I have seen his stuff posted before, it's not that much money. Like it's $30,000 or something. So again, I would need to see somebody do the reporting legwork and say, no, he's done this every year. He always gives this amount or whatever. So we'll see if that is uncovered or not. But yeah, it's funny timing. It's definitely humorous for people out there that see that he donated, and whether or not it was to aid Brendan Sorsby ultimately or not, whatever the intentions were. Yeah, it backfired in a major way, regardless the involvement of Ken Paxton.
He has donated, according to Texas transparency.org, just over nearly $1.3 million over the last, let's say, year or two to all sorts of other candidates, Greg Abbott, Dan Patrick, Chip Roy, among others, and including that one to Ken Paxton as well.
Yeah, I mean, I just pulled up. So, yeah, it's not out of line with what he's done elsewhere, I guess. This is from Transparency USA, $580,000 for Greg Abbott, $280,000 for Chip Roy, $200,000 for Dan Patrick. So, yeah, that's not out of line necessarily.
Yeah, and it does seem to me, this is just me, that okay, he donates money, and that was the timing of the day before the lawsuit filed against towards, or at least a threat towards the Big 12 conference. He donates to Republican candidates, and that might have just already been one that was about to be, but that's up for you to decide. And if anything comes out of it, of course, then there's going to be more. As like somebody in the chat, can we not move away from that story? I would love to, but that's something that if I don't bring it up, I'm not doing my job, or we're not doing our job. It's there. It happened. People can make their own decision.
Yeah, and I understand that sentiment, but it is interesting. So I want to talk about it, and feel free to, pivot. But yeah, we're not going to spend an hour on it or anything, but it is very interesting for a story that we've been following for a long time now, that a main central figure is donating $250,000 to a politician who a day later turned around and threatened the conference over them maybe punishing a guy who is a big investment for the guy who just gave him $250,000 the day before. So I'm sorry, but we're not just going to bypass that and ignore it.
We just brought it up, though. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm
not talking to you. I'm talking to the person saying, can we just move on? It's like, yeah, we're going to move on from it, but yeah, we're going to at least talk about it for a second. So yeah, we'll move on here in just a second. But yeah, I get the tired head over the source. But like I said a week ago, this isn't even about him anymore. Nope. This is about the after effects of that. So if you're hoping that it's just going to be a clean football season where we just pretend like nothing ever happened, then, I mean, I hate to break it to you, but you're going to be sorely disappointed, because that's going to be brought up a lot, not necessarily by us, but by people doing the broadcasts and people covering Texas Tech. So that's unfortunate. They can just go out and win and shut everybody up and make it not matter in the long run. But yeah, that's a note we got to at least touch on, because it is very interesting timing, and the people involved. I mean, it's at the core of the entire story we talked about all off season. So, but I get the tired head over it.
Yeah, I did. We mentioned it, and when I first saw it, I was like, it didn't bother me at all. And then I realized, oh, wait a minute, it was the day before. So yeah, at least it is something that I don't know if Cody even has to make a comment about. It was one of the things I said to him, and didn't listen to me, but it's shut up, move on, stop saying anything. But he might have to address that at some particular time. All right, Kevin Jennings and SMU. We mentioned that they're doing a Heisman Trophy campaign. They also, this was yesterday, announced that a building will be named after him. Kevin Jennings Recovery Center, that will include saunas, massage units, and other recovery tools for student athletes. Pretty unique to see a facility being named for a current student athlete and not somebody whose name's on the building because of the donation, because a family did donate the money to do this, and Jennings, the name that now is on it. Really cool story.
Yeah, I was curious how he made enough NIL money that quickly. I know SMU pays well, but well enough to put your name on a building. But obviously, there's some more details to it than Kevin just cutting a check. So yeah, that's really cool. A guy who's bled, sweat, and cried and laughed and whatever, and been one of the best Mustangs in school history. Now being kind of forever enshrined, at least for the longevity of this recovery center, which I'd imagine is going to be around for a really long time. To have his name on there, I think it's a great honor for him, and a nice tribute, and just really cool. And yeah, I think SMU is a program that I know we'll talk to Sam Kahn a little bit later, and plan on asking him about SMU, at least on one of the questions. But yeah, they're a team that's really in good shape as far as entering this season, and Kevin Jennings is a big part of the reason why. Been very impressed with him throughout his career and just how he's handled his business, and he's had some lows. We saw that in the college football playoff. If that was your first impression of him, you're like, what the hell? But he bounced back last year, had a really solid year. They were just a win or so away from being right in the thick of things once again. And I think they're a very talented team on paper. And yeah, that's a really cool honor for Kevin. So I know Rhett Lashley talked about it, but they launched the King of Dallas campaign.
That was yesterday
for the Heisman Trophy.
Well, yeah, so, we had Shahan on about that Monday. Yeah,
they've done that. And yeah, it mentions in an article I was reading earlier that Doak Walker's their only Heisman, so they're trying to get the drums beaten for Kevin Jennings to perhaps be that as well. But yeah, 2 dedicated spaces with state-of-the-art equipment for physical and mental recovery, light infrared saunas, dry plunge, sleep pods. They will be in the renovated end zone facility that opened a couple of years ago and could be ready for the upcoming season. So yeah, it's very cool. And the financial donors that help make that happen, I'm sure he's very grateful for that support, because yeah, it's not often you see an athlete, especially a current college athlete, getting their name put on the side of a building.
Yeah, they're going all in, and of course they were able to get inside the ACC, had that first really good year, and then last year they were, as you mentioned, Craig, they were good again, and they expect to be good moving forward. But really cool story with Kevin Jennings and his name, a current player. I'm sure there's been one before. I don't know who it might be. But usually the names of the buildings are for those who are the ones who paid for it, those who put in a bunch of the money to get, whether it's a stadium or a building for maybe the science department. But this one with Kevin Jennings. Has anyone ever been in some of the new facilities of college athletics and you see all of what they have? Yeah, there's a training room or whatever. This is before, and I've been in 2 or 3 of them, but this was before Baylor moved into the Fudge Athletic Center, which is in the same, right in the same area, same land. But I mean, the underground, the pools, and everything that's just pretty cool. Really, really cool, the bells and whistles they have inside, from whether it is Oklahoma State or whether it's Stanford or whether it's anybody else. And that's amazing to have a treatment center or a recovery center like that.
I'm going to go ahead and take what I don't think is much of a leap here. I think people who are watching a show like this are pretty familiar with the facilities. I think you're a pretty hardcore college football fan, and so you're well aware of the saunas and the locker rooms and the TVs in the lockers and the PS5s in the lockers and the Crimson waterfalls from 20 years ago that Alabama installed that just let you know that this was the land of excess and money overrun to the point where you're forcing the money into all of these fancy things, but still not paying the players. And now we look back on that and go like, damn, how'd they get away with that for as long as they did? But yeah, I mean, for a long time there, when we weren't talking about players getting paid, it was the money was all going to facilities and recruiting visits and all of these big things. And now there's just more money that's needed to continue to do those types of things to some degree, but also to pay the players. And we wondered where facilities would be in line as far as priority goes and thought that maybe those would kind of go to the wayside, but that's not been the case. I've seen a ton of different projects over the last couple of years that people are working on, including one that was just announced the other day that I forget who it was, some big school, I think, that announced like $200 million renovations or something like that. We know Tech had their big renovations. So yeah, facilities are still extremely important and more than ever now, the recovery centers and all those types of things, everybody either has that or is gearing to have that. So yeah, cool for Kevin Jennings. Really
if you
cool.
have been in one of your facilities, whether it's your favorite school or one that's where you reside and you've seen some of the bells and whistles in the last, let's say 3 to 5 years, let me know what maybe stood out the most to you or what impressed you the most ago. And in college, he goes, does 40 years ago count? No. I mean, it does because you went inside of it, but the things they have now compared to 40 years ago are like night and day.
I mean, it's a quick Google. You can look at anybody's facility and see the differences today from just even 10 or 15 years ago. And I think recovery is probably at the forefront of the things that are more improved than ever before. Only so many ways you can continue to spruce up a jacuzzi or things like that. They were typical. Everybody's got the barber's chair now at this point, right? Everybody's got the video games and the TVs, flat screens in each locker. It's crazy. But yeah, that health factor and just kind of the designs and things has definitely changed over the recent years. And yeah, they're still very important, the facility part of things. It's not as important as it used to be, but it's still very much up there as far as priorities go. So we've seen a lot of those projects, as I mentioned, being announced here lately, and very cool. See if anybody follows suit and has donors that want to slap one of the current athletes' names on their donation, like SMU's doing with Kevin Jennings.
I think it's great. ACC tiebreaker, we discussed that a little bit yesterday. And then I saw this last night from Nicole Arbach, who was at Big 12 Media Days, not far from where we were set up. A tiebreaker that redefines ties is actually quite diabolical. After the one she sent yesterday, I cannot wait to debate whether or not a 7-2 team is tied with a 7-1 team. And there's the image of the tiebreakers we discussed. I thought that was pretty cool what she said.
Yeah, I saw that tweet, and I saw that it was pretty easily explained that the best winning percentage, so 7-1 would go. All right, story over. Like, yeah, so that's, I don't think, like, it's like yesterday we were talking about this, and I saw some of the hand wringing. I don't think it was, it definitely was not like some wave of outcry over the ACC. It was like typical college football talking heads going like, I can't believe they didn't learn their lesson and this and that. And I get it, but I read it over a couple times, and granted, I'm not the smartest person in the world.
She should have put an 8-1 team over a 7-1 team because they played one less game.
Right. That's a better question. But that's my point, though, is people are freaking out with this example, and it's not even an accurate it's a very easily explained example. So people yesterday were like, oh, well, what happens if the 7-1 team would go in? They have a better winning percentage. It's not as crazy as y'all are making it out to be. I felt like I was going crazy yesterday because I understand not wanting to leave things in the hands of computers and all of that. But my point was like, at some point, you've got to have a cutoff. Like, I know we want the humans to figure it out, or we want it to all be settled on the field. But when you have these odd number conferences like the ACC, and these larger conferences where everybody doesn't play each other, like we knew this was going to be a problem. We knew that there were going to be issues with things like tiebreakers because now you're dealing with a lot of unevenness when it comes to the resume. So yeah, you've got to look eventually at things beyond head-to-head or common opponent, because if those things are still all equal, well, then how many other options do you have to go to? So yeah, at some point, it sucks that you're going like the Jeff Long route of almost creating a term or something. But all the ACC is doing is ensuring that last year there's no controversy that Miami would have been their representative, as Miami should have been their representative in their eyes because they were their best team. Like that's all that they're doing, is making sure that their best teams get the shot and that a Virginia doesn't sneak into the mix because the tiebreakers are as wonky as they were prior to last year. So yeah, they needed to make this change in light of a year ago. It's probably not a perfect formula. I'm certainly not smart enough to tell you the best way to do things, although there's a lot of people on Twitter who are apparently really into tiebreakers and have really big ideas, and maybe they should have been consulted. But I just thought like some of that is almost like people just reacted before even reading it. I felt like,
yeah, I'm so jaded by that, Craig, because of the year that the Big 12 used to have these annual like slogans, and the year that they came out with one true champion was 2014, and that's when both TCU and Baylor tied, and they were just like stuck. Like they were stuck on what to do about it. Bob Bowlesby was, and both of them were left out. One true champion when they didn't have one true champion.
But see, they weren't stuck though. Like they were stuck from the standpoint of they didn't have a conference title game to play that game, but they had already played that game. So that wasn't complicated. There was two teams.
It was
with
enough
the
where
same
Bowlesby
record.
didn't pick a side.
No, Bowlesby cowardly didn't pick a side.
That's right.
That's the story. It's not that the Big 12 was all wonky and, oh my God, how are they going to break the tie? Well, they did that when Baylor beat TCU 61-58 in Waco. That's how they broke that tie, because they both had one loss. Now Baylor lost to West Virginia in ugly fashion. So yeah, they technically had the same one, but bam, head to head. What's the first thing that's the tiebreaker in this ACC deal right here?
It's overall record. The first tiebreaker is winning percentage.
Head to head.
Yeah.
So that was easily explained when Baylor beat TCU head to head, but Bob Bowlesby did not want to stick his neck out there and tell the committee, no, they beat them. They're tied, but they beat them. So these are our champions. This is who should go forth. He decided to just be the middleman and not pick a side, even though it was an easy side to pick because the result was right in front of you. He was just cowardly about it. And it ultimately may not have mattered, although it does, because one of those two teams could have had a playoff berth. And who knows what either one of them would have done if they got in. But yeah, that's the year Ohio State gets in instead, and they go win the whole damn thing. So that shut up any sort of controversy, because the controversy was really sort of revolving around them, and then they went and just shut everybody up by winning the whole damn thing. But yeah, that was something that should have been simple, that the commissioner fumbled as far as how to propose that. So yeah, like the ACC thing, I mean, it's if you get to head-to-head and overall winning percentage and you're doing all the typical things that everybody else is doing and that still doesn't work, then yeah, throw a freaking formula in there to figure it out, because clearly the typical methods aren't working. Is this the best way? Maybe not. And if it's not, then we will definitely hear by year's end. But when you're fresh off of a 5-way tie and you're at threat of your best team not even making your championship game and then therefore not making the playoff, like you got to tweak some things. So we'll see how well it works for them.
And you know what the Big 12 did? They started having a championship game. That data point, by not playing that game, which would have settled it even though they had played earlier in the year, kept them, whoever would have won that conference championship game, out of the playoffs. One other note, by the way, we got to take a break. Sam Kahn's coming up next. We have Phil Longo at 5, Sam Houston State football coach, and also today Dennis Dodd, who's back to writing a little bit. He was on CBS Sports forever and now a part of Athlon's and Lindy's College Football Magazine. I just saw this note from about an hour ago. Kansas State, Craig, will begin selling beer, seltzers, canned cocktails, and wine at home football games this season. So Iowa State, check, and now Kansas State, check.
I mean, good for them. It'll be, a few $1 million that's now in their pockets that wasn't in their pockets otherwise. So yeah, that's exciting news. I'm not sure what caused the the announcement today, or if this is just, obviously you've been working on it for a while, but not sure if this was sort of out of nowhere for the K-State fan, or if this is something maybe they were expecting. But yeah, that's certainly good news for the drinkers out there. And you'll have your ability to tailgate. And I believe I saw a note where you could still, I think, go in and out. Don't quote me on that, but I did see that was one of the first questions that popped up in my Twitter feed, was somebody asking, well, does this mean that we still have the policy to leave and exit? So I'm sure all those details are already out there for those that it'll matter to, but just in general, yeah, good for Kansas State. Good for them to go ahead and identify this extra bit of revenue and go after it. I know that's been a thing that not everybody's wanted to pursue, but everybody at some point everybody's still, even the biggest and most rich schools, are looking for money. So this certainly will help a little bit.
All right. When we come back, do we have Sam on? Is he locked in? Let's do that now. By the way, one other note before we go to Sam. Hey, don't forget Ohio State 59, Wisconsin nothing had a little bit to do with them getting in the field of four. In the semifinals, they went on to win it in 2014.
No, absolutely, yeah. If they win that game like 35 to 21, then maybe they don't get the benefit of the doubt. Although you'd be hard pressed to convince most people that Ohio State's not going to get the benefit of the doubt, regardless. But yes, that's a very valid point, and that did play a big role. And Ohio State made the choice easier because, on the one hand, you have a commissioner who won't vouch for a team, even though he's got an easy choice to make. And then you've got this other team that you're debating with those other two, and that team goes out and crushes their opponent 59-0. So ultimately, it was an easy choice for the committee that could have been a lot harder. And then Ohio State did what they did and won the whole damn thing, and left no doubt that the right choice was made.
And this is a good note too. Remember Jordan Travis and Florida State? They were asked that they're not going to be a part of it. Ohio State with Cardale Jones, the way he played, Cardale Jones, the way he played, eliminated that as because they went out and mauled Wisconsin in the championship game. We're now joined by Sam Kahn, theathletic.com, and look at him. Kahn time! God, I missed that. We've missed you too, man. How you been? Are you enjoying at least part of your summer?
A little bit, we're chipping away and grinding at a lot of stuff that I've been working on throughout the off season. And I sit here with a nice big stack of preseason magazines that I've been digging into I've got about 6 of them right here to my right on the desk. So it's been a lot of just, a little bit of time off, not as much as you would think, but a lot of just kind of grinding away and chipping away and getting ready for actual football, which I'm excited about. We're almost there. I can smell it. We're about 6 weeks away, which kind of hard to believe.
That's exactly right. Craig, anything off for Sam?
Sam, I know you weren't at Big 12 Media Days, and it wasn't like it was super newsy, but did anything that you came across on the timeline stand out to you, or is it just sort of business as usual from your perspective?
Probably the Brett Yormark incident with the Texas Tech guy asked the question. That was really the only thing. We were at we had some staff meetings in Vegas last week, kind of overlapped. So I didn't really pay super close attention, but I did find that whole interaction to be really interesting and a little bit awkward. But no, I think overall the league is generally in a good place, a healthy place. The Sorsby incident aside, I think that's a whole different issue. I think time heals all wounds, and I think eventually the time will heal that between Texas Tech and Brett Yormark in the Big 12. I know there's a lot of hard feelings about it right now, but I think the league is in such a good place because you have a big dog right now, which when the league was formed after realignment, that's what we were lacking. We were lacking a big dog in that conference. And then you've got a lot of programs I think are upwardly mobile right now that are committed to winning, that are committed to spending. I mean, maybe not at the level of Texas Tech or Big 12 or SEC and Big 10 schools, but I think that there's still a lot of institutional want to at a lot of these schools. And so I don't think there's a lot of guys falling behind, so to speak. So I think the league's in a good place overall as we enter this football season. And I'm really compelled to see how it turns out. I think it's going to be another fun year with this league. And I think I think we're going to have a lot of unpredictability, just like we always do with who finishes where.
Have you declared your champion? Are you doing predictions? Okay.
No, but I mean, Texas Tech, even without Sorsby, I would pick them.
Okay. Yeah, I've noticed I thought I was going to be like kind of coy and sly. And so I had Texas Tech going unbeaten and then losing to BYU in the Big 12 title game as a scenario. And now I've heard a couple of other people going along with, or not going along with, but also thinking of that way as well. And I don't know if we're just trying to convince ourselves it's going to be unpredictable or what. But yeah, man, I think, Tech's obviously a logical choice.
Yeah, I think it'd be unpredictable outside of the top is kind of the way I see it. I still do. BYU, I think, is in a really good spot. You return LJ Martin, you return Bear Bachmeier. I like what they did in the transfer portal. They obviously didn't get a lot of guys, but I think the guys were really impactful. And you have to laud the job that Kalani Sitake's done. But I think when you get in after those two is where it gets really interesting, is because there could be a number of teams that pop up and that are in the mix, in the conversation for a Big 12 championship game appearance toward the end of the year. But yeah, I still would say I would be surprised if Tech is not at least in the Big 12 title game. I know the Sorsby thing is an issue. I guess the only thing that could change that is if Will Hammond suffers a significant injury that hampers him and hampers them. But if that happens, then all bets are off. But I think the talent on the roster across the board is hard to deny. It's not to say that is the defensive line going to look like it did last year. I don't know. I think that's hard to replicate, but I think it's hard to say that what they did in going to get a guy like Adam Tricker, getting to get a guy like Trey White, and they bring back AJ Holmes. I mean, they're going to be so stacked on the defensive line. Like that alone, to me, is going to be hard for everybody to deal with, just like it was a year ago. And I think they're a little bit better offensively because they returned the two backs, they returned Quentin Joyner, they returned some receivers, and I think Hammond's very talented. As long as he's healthy, I think they're in good shape.
Sam, one of the things we hear a lot about week 3, which was that would have been someone's first game back at Sorsby, but it's week 3 anyway. It's Houston and Tech. But there's that week 2 game that someone brought up earlier this week, Arizona and BYU play. And I mean, that kind of like set the tone pretty quickly. I know there's a game in Dublin too, but I look forward to that one because what Fafita brings to the table, and Brennan last year won 9 games.
Yeah, I think Noah Fafita has an argument to be, and I would say maybe some people wouldn't even say it's an argument, as the best quarterback in the conference. I guess if you want to throw Drew Mestamaker in there, if you think he's going to make that kind of leap, I think Devin Dampier probably has an argument. But if you tell me Noah Fafita is the best quarterback in the conference, I don't really have much debate with that. I think he's tremendous. And when you see that kind of, you remember what happened a couple years ago. He had the really breakout 23, and then he really struggled in 24. And I thought last year bringing Seth Deggy on really helped him a lot. I think the way they structured the offense and the way they called it was really beneficial to him and his strengths. And with Deggy back this year and with some of the pieces they have, I think they're going to be in good shape. And you're right. That is a compelling matchup. I think Arizona is one of those teams that you could very much see in this mix when you talk about, dark horse or team that could be, right nipping at the heels for a Big 12 title game appearance after those big 2. I think Arizona is absolutely one of those teams could be in that mix.
And wasn't that the year he struggled, the year that McMillan was gone to the NFL? Is that right?
No, I think it was McMillan's last year. He was
okay.
Yeah, last year was the first year he was gone, and that was what was impressive is if Fafita did what he did.
Yes,
without
There you go. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, he was really good without him last year. So it was 2 years ago when you thought they were going to do a lot more than they ended up doing 2 years ago. But nevertheless, really impressive young man, Sam. I don't know if you've had a chance to talk to Noah Fafita, but we got to talk to him. He's awesome. SMU ACC Media Days are going on. We were just talking earlier about Kevin Jennings. He's got his name that's going to be going up on the Recovery Center, and they're starting the Heisman campaign for him, man. And I think SMU is getting more attention than ever, and yet it almost still feels like they're kind of an afterthought in a way, just because they're sort of on this island by themselves. But man, they seem to be loaded for bear once again. And if things fall the right way, then yeah, I think we're going to be talking a lot about them this upcoming season. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. They're to me, have been one of the few teams that has really done a consistently good job at roster management year in, year out since Rhett Lashley got there the last 3-4 years. I feel like they've really mastered the portal and the way they use it. They seem to always find guys that are not necessarily the headline splashy guys that end up being big-time players. You think about Brashard Smith a couple years ago and the kind of player he turned into, former receiver, turned into one of the best running backs in the country. That's just kind of the knack they have for being able to evaluate and find those guys and turn them into big time players. But you bring back Kevin Jennings, And I think that to some degree before this Heisman campaign came out, I feel like people started to fall asleep on Kevin Jennings a little bit. We forget that he took them to the playoff 2 years ago. And if you go back and look at his stat line from last year, he improved in every major category from 24 to 25. You wouldn't think that because SMU wasn't in the playoff. I think they ended up winning 9 games. They weren't in the mix in the way that they were in 2024. And I think people kind of forgot about him a little bit. And, you talk to people around the program. He was a little banged up early in the season. I think he hurt his leg or something, so he wasn't running as much. But when you go look at his performance on the field and you go look at the numbers across the board, he was a better player last year than he was in 2024. And that says a lot because he was one of the best quarterbacks in the country in 24 to get them to the playoff. And so I understand why they're putting all this behind him. I know Rhett Lashley's very loyal to his quarterbacks and, the bonds that he's had with guys that he's worked with in the past, whether it's De'Aaron King or Tyler Van Dyke, Shane Buechele, all those guys. Like Rhett really believes in these guys and really puts his weight behind them. And I think this is another extension of that. They care about this guy. And let's face it, he took them to a place where they haven't been in 40 years. And there's a lot of reasons for that, because of what happened to the program after, the mid 80s and the death penalty. But that program has reached a level of relevance under Rhett Lashley and with Kevin Jennings that it hadn't had since the mid 80s. And I think, people may look at, oh, wow, they named a building after him. But like you think about where that program has been, he's accomplished a lot since he's been there.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. They've made some huge strides in the last 3 years. I think the part that sucks for Jennings supporters, I think that when people first got their eyes on him, it was that Penn State playoff game. And it was like the absolute worst game you could watch to be impressed, right? And so people are tuning in. They're like, why is SMU in the playoff? Like they haven't watched him at all and haven't watched him at all. And that's their first impression. And I think, part of last year is kind of trying to wash that taste out of people's mouths. And I think there's probably still some of that you'll need to do. But he has another chance to do it. That's the good news.
Yeah, and guys, you remember, and of course, I'm a little bit of a nerd, and obviously I live down here, so I could see it much more closely. But the first time I got to see eyes on him was against Dallas South Oak Cliff in the state championship.
Oh yeah,
and seeing him in person live and watching him throw the football, I remember he was committed to Missouri State at the time, and I remember thinking, why is this guy going to Missouri State? No offense to Missouri State, but why was he not recruited at a Power 4 level or even at the Group of 5, Group of 6 level? I just didn't get it because you watched him play and he checked every box pretty much. I guess the only box you didn't check is maybe he was a little slight of frame. And I think that's still something they're working on with him. You talk to people around there, you wish he'd be about 10, 15 pounds, a little bit more on him, but because, and especially as athletic he is, you run around a little bit, you absorb those hits. You want a little bit more muscle on you for that. But the guy can really throw it. Like he made a touchdown pass in the left corner of the end zone in that state title game. And I was like, whew, like he can really sling it. And then you watch some of the throws he made last year. I know there's that clip that went viral on social with him throwing, kind of contorting his body, kind of twisting and then throwing it against TCU for a touchdown. And he can do some special things. But you're right. The first impression that he made on the country against Penn State was a bad one. It was his first real game on the major national stage, and it left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. And so to that point, I think that's one of the reasons why people slept on him. And then they were out of the playoff race fairly early. So he kind of didn't really capture the national consciousness in the way they did the year before. But great story. Like I said, from Dallas South Cliff, had very few offers, and Rhett finds him, right after he took the job and offered him. And, Preston Stone was supposed to be the next guy for them. Yep. And next thing you know, Kevin Jennings turns out to be that guy instead after Rhett Lashley gave him a chance.
So you wrote, and you've been gone. You've ghosted us for quite some time. But last week, I guess it was early last week, you wrote about no modern college football team has added more new players than in the offseason in Oklahoma State. I dove deep into the process, the overhaul, the chaos. And it's really good for them that they were able to add that and not have a second portal window that might have had some disappear. Your thoughts about how they've done it? We've seen teams do it before, but this was in the 80 range of new players and faces on the roster.
Yeah, this was Colorado 2023 Deion Sanders type overhaul without the Louis Vuitton clip. Eric Morris is not exactly the same type of personality in that regard. But the thing that strikes me about this is, just like with the Deion Sanders thing in Colorado, roster management in the modern era is not very pretty. Those guys told me there's some very candid conversations you have to have with players about, hey, if you want to stay here and play football, that's great. There's not going to be another rev share contract. And Eric Morris said to me, he said that every coach that he's talked to that has gone through this process of taking over a team that really struggled and trying to flip the culture and trying to flip the roster, that every coach that he's consulted has always said, I wish I had gotten more of my guys in. And so he erred on the side of being aggressive on flipping the roster and getting more guys out from the old team and in that more fit what he wants to do. The North Texas guys who made the move up I-35, obviously there's, about, I think a little bit more than a dozen, 15, 16, 20 of them. I can't remember how many, but quite a few. Those are his culture guys, his extensions of the staff. Those are the guys that are going to kind of set the core and the nucleus of that team. And obviously not just from a culture standpoint, but from a skill standpoint with, Drew Messmaker, Caleb Hawkins, Wyatt Young, three of the best players on the roster. But I thought they did a pretty solid job overall at attacking other spots and doing a good job elsewhere on the roster, but it's not easy and it's not perfect. This is not something that it's going to be overnight. Like, I think they'll be good next year. I think they'll be a bowl team, but I think there's good. You're not going to go 86 for 86 on new players. It's just not realistic. And so I think you're going to see some flaws early in the season. There's going to be some growing pains throughout the year, just because in that short of a time to try to get that many players in basically a few weeks, a month time, it's just really difficult to nail all those guys. I mean, NFL teams have an entire calendar year to draft 7 guys, and they don't get all those right. Trying to get 86, 87 in the span of a couple of weeks is asking a lot. So I do think, and I've been as guilty as anybody about being a little bit probably overly optimistic about Oklahoma State, but I do think it's worth noting there is probably going to be some growing pains just because it's hard to do it. But it was a fascinating time. I went over to Stillwater, spent a lot of time there. The GM there told me that at one point that there were so many guys coming in and out that he had to go break up a position meeting because some guy committed to a spot that a guy that was on an official visit was taken. And it's like, well, we don't have this much money left anymore. Now this is what we have. Do you want to stay? Do you want to take a plane out? Like it because of how much we've compacted the portal window and how quickly this all has to happen, it can get very messy and a little bit ugly at times.
Yeah, Sam, I think everybody's kind of like, we all started maybe overmodulated on the expectation. We've all, as we gotten closer, gone like, we got to, like, they're not just going to run in here and like run the league. And if they do, then, I mean, guess who the next big face of college football coaching is going to be? It's going to be Eric Morris, right? And I don't know. Do you feel like there's going to be an adjustment for the North Texas guys? Like, I don't want to make too much of this leap upwards, right? But I think we also acknowledge there is different levels to this. So am I weird in wondering if 60 guys or 20 guys from North Texas can come and just start winning games in the Big 12? I don't know. How do you see that, if that makes sense?
Yeah. I think it could go any way. I think because you have the evidence and the proof of concept at Indiana, a bunch of James Madison guys winning 111 games in the Big Ten. And then, several of them were holdovers this year and won a national championship. Obviously, there's a lot more of a baseline power for a level of player that was already there before he got there. That's what's different with this roster. Like Kurt Signetti turned that roster over, but he didn't turn it over to this extent. But this was a 1-11 team last year. And so in some ways, like, I don't think they're going to run the league, but I do think there's nowhere to go but up because they were bad. I mean, you guys watched them.
Yeah.
And especially when you saw them toward the end of the year, like, they were bad. It was a very uncompetitive football team. There's a reason why guys were standing out in the stands without their shirts and waving them around like helicopters, because there wasn't much else to do. There wasn't a lot being given to the fans to cheer on that fan base, which, by the way, is one of the best fan bases in the country. Like, they're showing up even as bad as this team was. So I do think it's fair. And I would say, Craig, to your point, the line of scrimmage is the place where I have the most concerns. Is, okay, does an all conference and all AAC lineman, is he going to succeed week in and week out in the Big 12? How's he going to do against some of these guys that are been at the Power 4 level and competed at the Power 4 level for a while. That's where I think it becomes a question. If I have a question with this Oklahoma State team, it's going to be up the middle. It's going to be at the line of scrimmage. But from a skill talent standpoint, do I have much doubt about Drew Messmaker? No. Do I have much doubt about Caleb Hawkins? No. Caleb Hawkins could play at any damn school in the country. Like Texas wanted him. There's plenty of SEC and Big Ten schools that wanted that guy. I think he could play anywhere. And Wyatt Young, I think is a really good player. He's another one who got SEC attention from other schools as well. So those guys I don't have concern about. It's the guys at the line of scrimmage that I want to see how they develop.
You mentioned Oklahoma State and the fan base, how they must be just thirsty as hell because they were consistently in the mix and, of course, had really good teams along the way. They had just played for a Big 12 title, although it got smacked around in the year before that, fingernails on the play at the goal line. This is a random question. You take Oklahoma State's fan base and that atmosphere when they're winning, who else in the conference would it be? Tech and West Virginia that has kind of that same atmosphere at their home games?
Tech, West Virginia, BYU. Obviously not as hostile at BYU. They're a lot more friendly to you at BYU, which I appreciate. But night games at BYU, like, buddy, no, it's pretty intense, and so those would be the ones that I would pick in that category.
Yeah, I just thought about that. The Texas Tech, and also Oklahoma.
Hey, how about West Virginia getting a little? Their fans should get a boost from Team USA this year from using country roads.
Yeah,
over the summer, like that's.
It is the
maybe help with the recruiting. A buddy I know who's a big West Virginia fan. He told me, he's like, maybe this will help us with our recruiting this year.
Yeah, it's the new national anthem.
That's right.
Yeah, for a couple of weeks, 3 or 4 weeks, it was.
Do you have any opinion really formed on West Virginia, man? I look at them. They have the roster turnover 2 years in a row now, and my whole thing's just been that Rich Rod can't have like a middle of the road season and then this offseason go, all right, we're just going to flip the roster. It's like, no, you've done that. I'm intrigued by Michael Hawkins and Scotty Fox, dual quarterbacks. Cam Cook, I think, was a really good pickup at running back, bringing him back to the Big 12. Like, what do you think about the Mountaineers?
I don't want to overstate it because I don't think they're at that level. But I'd be lying if I said I don't look at Michael Hawkins and Cam Cook as like maybe a Pat White, Steve Slayton 2.0 light, so to speak. Like I think Hawkins is a really good electric athlete. Cam Cook, obviously, his numbers speak for himself. This is not a G6 transfer that's just popping up. This is a former Big 12 player. He was at TCU. This guy was recruited to be a Power 4, a Big 12 athlete. So he's got what you want as a Big 12 running back. But so if he can kind of capture that type of playmaking production that he did last year at Jacksonville State, and you add with Michael Hawkins, who I think is obviously not the best passer, he's not going to win passing competitions, but he is a really good athlete. And you run back what Rich Rod was doing offensively, and he's always kind of been on the cutting edge. Look, I don't think anybody's really had questions about Rich Rod as a coach. I know when he got lost his job at Arizona, that was more of an off the field issue, not necessarily an on-field performance issue. And so I think I'm really intrigued by West Virginia. I don't know that I'd say I think they're a 10-win ball club, but I certainly think, yeah, if Hawkins and Cook start cooking a little bit, no pun intended, I think they could be really interesting, and they could be a team that could really make some noise in the middle of the league. Like, maybe they're an 8-win ball club, and maybe they're a team that gives the teams a lot of hell just because trying to defend those two could be a little bit of a headache. And Scotty Fox, to your point, I think, we saw some flashes of what he could do last year, and I think he's a talented guy as well. So I'll be curious to see how they handle that quarterback situation throughout the season. But Hawkins and Cook together, I think, has a lot of potential.
So, Sam, what did you miss the most about not being at Big 12 Media Days,
besides nothing?
Yeah. They had the 2 days. You would have been disappointed in a little bit, but we had access. But anything in particular that you still missed, even though you've moved up the ladder where you are at the athletic?
Just seeing everybody, just seeing you guys and seeing everybody in person. I still do think they have a value. The media days do. I don't miss the main stage. The main stage press conferences I could totally do without. Like the mic and the whole performance, and it just seems very performative to me. I like the smaller group settings. I like when we get the breakouts and you can get guys in smaller, intimate settings, because that's when you can have real conversations. That's and that's what it is. To me, I think media days, and this is not just Big 12, I mean, across the board, at least at the Power 4 level, I feel like they become more performances and they become places for content, not necessarily what they were originally intended to be many years ago, which was a place to talk about and find out about your teams and have real conversations. And let's dig deep into these teams a little bit. I still think the Big 12 does a good job, probably a better job than most of the Power 4 conferences at allowing that. But it's, I think it's got its good and its bad. For me, like I said, for me, part of it is I've already seen a lot of these guys in person before we got to Frisco. And so how much does it add for me to go there? And the other thing is, and I told you this, Smokey, I'm going to see a bunch of these guys here in Houston in about 72 hours. They're going to be here in Houston. The Texas High School Coaches Association Convention.
That's right. High school
THSCA is down here, and all those, at least all the in-state head coaches will be here. A lot of the staffs that recruit the state will be here. And so we'll get a chance to see a lot of those guys here Sunday, Monday, and a little bit Tuesday. And that'll be really good because there's 17,000, 18,000 high school coaches, every college staff that recruits the state and that's in the state, and probably a fraction of the media. There's not 500 reporters. There's going to be like 12 of us. And so I appreciate that ratio a little bit more than the one of the Big 12 media days.
Good to see you again. Thank you, Sam, for being a part of the show today. Have a great week. Thank you.
You too.
Sam Kahn with us from theathletic.com. It's been a while. He's been doing stuff. He's been busy trying to take a break like normal people during the summer as well. It's great to get him back on.
He's taking a break from you harassing him, trying to get him on the show.
I guilted him into I kind of asked him a passive aggressive
question
about being on today.
No, not you. Passive aggressive question. Never. No, it is good to have him back on after a while and getting a little bit of his break. And I don't blame him for not going to media days, like he said, especially when he's got like the access that he does to be able to just go to Stillwater and talk to Eric Morris in his office, as opposed to doing it in the midst of a couple hundred people in Arlington. So yeah, he gets all he needs from those types of trips. And really appreciate him being on and just talking some ball and some storylines, and just feels good that we're talking media days, not from the fact that they were like super interesting or everything. Like, I mean, ACC media days has been mildly interesting. I think, again, I will say the tiebreaker reaction completely overblown, complete media overblown reaction to that. But nonetheless, like, that was newsworthy. Dabo said some interesting things.
Let me give you a quote from Dabo.
Well, hold on. Yeah. And then, you had that. So there's been kind of stuff, but nothing like groundbreaking, ground shaking. I think the Big 12 was pretty mild outside of just the initial first day and the questions of the commissioner and how sort of strange that got. But beyond that, it was pretty chill. So yeah, I'm with him. Like, media days serve a purpose, but they're not like the end all be all. I think what they are more than anything is they're just a, like, a little mini bottle of water, like you get, like,
I do.
It's as though we've been roaming through the desert, and it's the nice little tiny bottle of water that's not going to fully quench your thirst, but damn, it's going to get you to when you can get to that real big bottle of water here in about a month and a half. So it's a nice little breakup of the off season and an opportunity to start kind of, beating the drums and getting excited to hype up whatever's coming for your team or your conference. And I do enjoy that part of it.
We get coaches as the spring progresses, either before or during or even after their spring football. But we're not going to get all of them just because of time and the schedules. And we were able to pick off a few more and double up on others. And that's what I like about it, is the access. They're all right there within 100 yards, really, of when they walk through the front door. So thank you to Sam Kahn for being a part of the show today. We're going to break and come back in the 4 o'clock hour. At 4:20 or so, we'll have Dennis Dodd on his thoughts about how the Big Ten has surpassed the SEC and what happened to get to that point. Then Craig's off the radar. And then also we'll have Phil Longo at Sam Houston State at 5.
So come back with Dabo, I guess.
Yeah, I'll come back with a quote from Dabo Sweeney, which the quote was very good and yet proved why people are upset about Clemson last year and their record. That's next. This is 365 Sports. QC Kinetics. Have you been having aches and pains in your joints or wherever they are, and it's not going away? No matter how many times you may get a steroid shot in your elbows or your shoulders or your back or your knees or wherever it might be, it's not going away. It might kick the can down the road if it does, if it's effective enough for maybe 3 to 4 or maybe 5 or 6 weeks. I did that for a long time. I had a lot of different steroid shots and injections in my back, cervical, and in my spine, down to my lower waistline to try to get rid of some of the aches and pains in my hip. Kick the can down the road. Now, there's no can. I don't have to kick anything. My right hip feels great. I ran this morning 3 miles. I have felt really good. And I mentioned the story that when we were on the road, I ran both mornings, not very long, but enough to just get a sweat going, go back, shower, and go to work in covering Big 12 media days. QC Kinetics is allowing me to do what I hadn't done for nearly 4.5 to 5 years, and that is work out, sweat, and even jog. And then when I clear my mind or think about ideas along the way, what do? They use natural biologics. Yours. Think about that. Yours. They utilize natural substances from your own body, my body, platelet-rich plasma, stem cells, injected into the affected areas. For me, it has been in my lower back and also towards my right hip. It worked. I still have even a treatment left, and I haven't used it. Hope I don't have to use it. I don't think I will, but it's there in case I need a mulligan, like a tee shot on a golf course to start a Saturday morning with friends. It's QC Kinetics in both Dallas and in Houston. QC Kinetics in Dallas is 972-972-8610. Houston is 713-913-5285. Here's also something to think about. It's a free consultation. You may say, yeah, no, it is. It's a free consultation. I had that, was driving back to Waco, got a call from the QC Kinetics in Dallas, and made me think, and I turned around and went back and I got treatment that first day. Drug-free, minimally invasive. Surgery, forget about it. Procedures, forget about it. Let QC Kinetics fix you, not for 1 month or 2, but forever at QCkinetics.com.
Green Texas weather calls for Ray Broker, your Lennox premier dealer. Sign up for our year-round comfort plan and keep your home the perfect temperature no matter what the forecast is. Call or visit raybroker.com now. Ray Broker, your air conditioning and heating specialist.
Make this the summer event at Allen Samuels in Waco. Get behind the wheel of an iconic new Dodge Charger RT and score $5,000 in savings. First responders and military members get an extra $500 bonus. Allen Samuels Dodge.
Come by, let's be friends.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. At TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, Your Bank for Life.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas for over 50 years. Automatic Chef brings the best products to your location at the best prices. With hundreds of choices in fresh food, coffee, snacks, and drinks, make break time great again with Automatic Chef. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchef.com.
If you need legal advice on medical malpractice or personal injury, 18-wheeler accidents, or criminal, probate, and estate planning and transactional work, including private equity acquisitions, buying and selling businesses, and employment agreements, please contact David Dumas at the David Dumas Law Firm at daviddumaslawfirm.com. This 3 o'clock hour is brought to you by QC Kinetics. Feel better, move better, live better with regenerative medicine using your body's own healing abilities for natural pain relief. No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. With locations in Dallas and Houston at QCkinetics.com. It's time for the Smoak Show on 365 Sports with Craig Smoak and David Smoak.
Here we go, this 4 o'clock hour. Dennis Dodd at the 4:20 mark. Craig Smoak at 4:45 with Off the Radar. We do appreciate your time. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, we would appreciate it. If you haven't hit the like button today, then that's not very nice. So we would like you to do that too. So Craig brought up the ACC Media Days. We brought up what you get, Big 12 Media Days, and the ones that are about to come up with the SEC over the weekend into Monday, Tuesday, and Big 10. So Dabo Swinney, Clemson, they've dipped a little bit, and they were really good. It was like Alabama, then Clemson kind of like jumped them, at least winning a couple of times, and then it was Alabama, then Georgia came along the way. Dabo Swinney, Craig, saying this: we've won 11 ACC championships in the last 15 years. And then you have a season like last year, and that's what everyone wants to focus on. We are 151-7 when we lead into the fourth quarter, and 2 of those 7 losses were last year. Now, what he's doing is giving you evidence about how good they've been, but also when you have the year you have last year, because of how good you've been, that's why people start to grumble a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's on the one hand, just all facts that he's spitting right there. But on the other hand, if you are not a believer in Dabo, or you believe he's lost his fastball, or just the game's kind of passed Clemson's formula by, then you see a year like last year and they're 7-6. That's the worst year that they've had under Dabo Swinney since his debut season. And his debut season was all the way back in, or actually his third season, excuse me, but his debut season all the way back in 2009. And in, let's see, it was 2010, they went 6-7. So that's the worst mark they've had since 2010. So we're talking 15 years.
Yeah, it's a long time
of Clemson football that's been better than the year that they just had last year. So to his point, they've been really, really good. They've won a bunch of games. I mean, they had the stretch there of over a decade of 10 wins or more, including multiple national championships, multiple national championship game appearances, multiple ACC championships. I mean, they just won so much over a prolonged period of time that, I mean, yeah, anything less than that is – it's like the world's falling apart. And I think the scarier thing for Clemson is just kind of wondering if you're one of those teams that's going to get lost in the muck of all of the changes. Now, a couple of years ago, they won 10 games. 3 years ago, when people were starting to freak out, they won 9 games. So it's not like they've fallen off of a cliff, but last year was the worst that it's been. And so I think people were rightfully a little bit freaked out by 7-6, but you do have to give him some benefit of the doubt and some credit and some time and ability to be able to turn this thing around. But I know that we've had it pointed out from multiple angles of just how slow they were to adapt to NIL, and then how slow they were with the transfer portal, and Dabo's outright refusal early on to do things a different way, and his very cheesy quotes that just did not land at the time when he's God, what was the one that was the viral one that was like the one about God but it was like the cheesiest thing you've ever, or my NIL is, God, what was that? I'm blanking on it now, but it was like, yeah, that was just.
It was obviously memorable.
It was memorable. Yeah, he said my program was fundamentally built in God's name, image, and likeness. And it was a memorable quote.
Okay.
I just couldn't remember the exact quote, but it absolutely was memorable because everybody panned it for like 2 days. And, that didn't land very well when you're basically refusing to change or saying that people don't know what they're talking about and I'm going to do it my way because it's always worked. And then it's not working the way that it was. And they're telling you why it's not working. It's because that way doesn't work anymore, but you refuse to believe that. Well, now he's in a position where he's had to change. And so in the midst of that, you go 7-6. I'm very curious of what this year looks like because I think they've got high expectations, of course, but there's reasons for optimism. And yet, yeah, you feel like maybe they've lost their fastball a little bit and aren't quite what they used to be and aren't a program that's maybe set up to have that level of success now or ever again for that matter. And if that's the case, well, that wouldn't be surprised because the level of success they established there for a while was so insanely high that like,
all right,
anything that's short of 10 wins every year is going to be a disappointment. And that's the gift and the curse of being as successful as you are.
They got a great coach. He's a Hall of Fame coach. They have a hell of a program. They have all that you need when it comes to support, the fan base, money, etc. And they have NIL. They just haven't. It was just something that Dabo tried to avoid. He's not the only school that did that. If they're not careful, and I hope this makes sense, they have been rolling. But I know a team very, very much that had 25 to 35 years of 9 wins or more, and then all of a sudden they dipped and went 7-7 after never having less than 9 wins, and in fact won national titles. Then they went 7-7. Then they went 10-3. And then you know what? Even though they had 2 or 3 years of winning 10, they have been in a free fall ever since. And that's the team in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Yeah.
They were better than Clemson ever was, losing to them one time in 1980 for a championship game. But as good as Clemson was 5, 8, 7 years ago, Nebraska was good as they were as good, if not better.
Yeah, they were as good and maybe certain years, if not better. I think, though, that we're drawing a very thin line if you think about what Clemson was accomplishing, though. I mean, Nebraska set a very high bar. I understand that. Clemson was also winning a bunch of titles in a short amount of time.
That run they made where they lost and then they caught Alabama and then won twice, and then they had that drive with Deshaun Watson, et cetera. No, they were at the top of college football at the time.
And I think their run is comparable to like the Nebraska in some ways and Nebraska's best runs. Now, longevity, Osborne did it over decades, and Dabo's getting close to being at that point now. Hell, I mean, we're in his second decade we're in the third decade of Dabo coaching.
He was an interim coach, and actually one of his first bowl games was an interim and lost in Nebraska. That was in the late, 90s?
I mean, but you've played for 4 national titles. You've won a couple national titles. So, and that all occurred in a 5-year period. And then since then, all they did was just keep winning double-digit games every year. So, and playing in the playoff, like we brought up with that was Penn State we brought up with SMU, but Clemson playing Texas a couple years back. But yeah, I'm fascinated by them because there are those that believe that Dabo can get it right. But those become fewer by the numbers every day, I feel like. And we are getting more pushing towards, where Clemson isn't what they used to be, and it's just becoming clear that they're not and won't return to that level of glory, which, I mean, by God, it's hard to be as good as they were for as long as they were. Or maybe they figured it out, or maybe things are back on track and they're going to get back to winning 10 games like they did just a couple of years ago. But you wouldn't know it because the bar is set so high that we talk about them as though they've won 6 games 3 years in a row.
No,
when the reality is they won 7 games a year ago, and 3 years ago they won 9. And because they've only won 10 games one time in the last 3 years, it's as though you went 0-12 in Clemson territory. So, yeah, that's a great example of a few different things, of just the changing of times and adapting to change.
Yep.
And that certainly costs them. But it's also an example of how success can be a handicap for you because you are so freaking good that anything short of that, even if it's much better than most others' best, it's not as good as what you were doing at your best.
You win 10 plus games for 12 consecutive years. And not many people, it's ridiculous. And then you said 9-4, 10-4, and then 7-6 last year. You just got to be careful. You can slip, even the greatest. But I think Dabo's in a good place. I think that he's learned from that. I do think that he's overly sensitive at times because he's accomplished so much. But once again, the quote that he used was really validation and evidence of why people are a little bit nervous because they were so good and then go 7-6.
Yeah.
All right. So there we are with Clemson.
I think they're really interesting. I'm really intrigued.
I don't know where they are in among 17 teams. You would think that they would always be in the top 2 to 4. Florida State's way down. Clemson trying to get back up. And then, of course, what you have with Miami, they are at the top of the poll right now because of what they did last year.
Clemson's in the first handful of teams. They're definitely not in the number 1 spot. That is absolutely Miami, but Clemson is in the SMU, Louisville, right there as far as who could play for the title alongside Miami. So yeah, I think they're definitely in that mix, and it would not be a shocker at all to see them in the ACC title game. But yeah, there's just such a high bar set that, especially when you have the worst year you've had since basically you first arrived, then combine that with just this overall feeling the last 2 or 3 years that you're slipping, that you don't have the advantages and things that were in place when you were winning as much as you were, then there's reason to believe that maybe you've lost your touch and you don't quite have the mojo anymore. But I think this year will go a long way in determining that. If they go 7-6 again, then I think red flags or alarms going off all across Clemson, South Carolina. But if they jump up and they win 10 games and win the ACC, then Dabo's going to be able to go up to that podium and say whatever cheesy thing he wants to say, and feel like he can say what he wants to, because they will have gone out there and proven the haters wrong, so to speak.
They won a national title in 1981, and they had 4 consecutive 10-win seasons. They had 20, Craig, consecutive years of not getting to 10 wins or more. 20, Clemson. So it's kind of like what, Georgia had that Herschel Walker team, Vince Dooley, that was amazing. And they were still really talented. In fact, Clemson and Georgia, very similar paths. And then all of a sudden, here comes Georgia. Clemson went 20 years without winning more than 9 games in a year, had a lot of 7-5s, et cetera. And then he ripped off 12 or 14 straight. Yeah, Dabo has a right to have a little buck up his ass, but when he can get a little bit like, wait a minute, what we've done here. Now, who's their best? They got a game off the top, I'm sure. They always they're like everybody else. They end up playing somebody pretty good at the start of the season that might set the tone.
They got LSU right out of the gates.
Yeah, there you go. There's a game that they played last year, and they have LSU right out of the gates. Miami's not far from that. Could be interesting. They win one of those early, then who knows what they might be at the end of the year.
I mean, that's going to be a hell of a game in Death Valley. Baton Rouge version of Death Valley with the 2 Death Valley teams playing each other. But yeah, that's going to be Lane Kiffin's big debut. It's a nighttime game, and I think that'll be just insane atmosphere as it usually is in Louisiana, but even more so when you consider the opponent, the start of the era, and all the buildup and expectations. So yeah, I mean, Dabo can go shut a lot of people up in week number 1 and make a big statement, or they fall to 0-1, and then the same old people that have been crowing for a couple of years now that he's lost his touch and that they aren't what they were in the NIL era, and what they did prior to that's not going to be replicated now, and so therefore maybe he's not the guy that he was, or whatever the case may be, whatever the narrative. Like, yeah, that first game, we're going to have extreme overreaction one way or the other to that. It's either going to be a great win for Dabo and set the season off on a really big high, or it's going to be an 0-1 hole and then, a lot of grumbling. But that'll be the case for Lane Kiffin as well. So that game's going to be incredible. Cannot wait.
Yeah, those are the bangers early in the year. That's one you want to. If you're home, you get your whatever you have for an appetizer or 5 and sit down and watch the rest of the day, including that one. That will be a lot of fun. There's a USC. I've had this story for 2 or 3 days. We just haven't gotten to it. We're about to have Dennis Dodd here in a minute. USC football and athletics, they have been a Nike school. It's not a surprise. Brian Fisher with this story. They announced a new 10-year deal with Nike. That is normal when it comes to extensions and contracts. This is one of the things that's also interesting. Would you see this with, like, for example, Auburn's playing Baylor in Atlanta? We had that bowl game representative on with us last week about how Auburn is going to be able to get money for playing in that game. It's Auburn home game. They get the money. But they also have a heavy component for NIL for USC. Not that they're hurting for it, as they extend the contract with Nike for 10 years. There we go with that.
I mean, yeah, the Blue Ribbon Elite thing is very exclusive company. I think it's only like Texas and LSU and Georgia that I know that I've seen that are a part of the Blue Ribbon Elite grouping. So, yeah, it would make sense that USC would fit into that kind of upper echelon brand category. And I don't know what a lot of this other stuff means. I mean, I know what custom uniform collections and things are. We'll see those, I guess, when they come out. But yeah, I mean, this is good for their NIL. This is kind of separates them as well. Even if there's dozens and dozens of other Nike schools, there's a handful of the Blue Ribbon Elite. And the big schools love to feel special, and they sell the most and have a lot of the history and all that. So yeah, USC is certainly a team that's deserving of that kind of label. But yeah, good for them. And NIL, man, it's packed into everything nowadays. It's like a bill going through Congress or something. Like, people are like, you got to make sure you attach certain things. Well, if you're doing gear deals nowadays, or big non-conference matchups, or big preseason tournaments, or whatever you can slap NIL onto, you slap NIL onto to make it something that people want to do even more. So, yeah, it looks like USC is getting some upgrades, and also that includes their NIL. All
right. When we come back, Dennis Dodd was in a byline earlier this week, and I went, he's retired. And he is. But he was asked to write a column, and he did, about the Big Ten and how they have eclipsed the SEC with the 3 consecutive national championships. And, of course, Indiana, a major part of that, even though Ohio State and Michigan won a couple of those too. He's next from Athlon's and Lindy's Football Magazine, and this is 365 Sports. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Loop 340, east of 84 in Waco, Ted Teague. And the Make the Summer event sales continues at Alan Samuels. In fact, I got some new information from Ted over the last 24 hours, and here is some of it for you. 400 new and pre-owned cars. That's on the lot. 400 new and pre-owned cars, trucks, and also SUVs, pretty much every make and model that you could imagine. Check out the 2021 Kia Sorento with only 80,000 miles. This is a pre-owned, $17,000. If you need a truck, don't miss this opportunity. A 2021 Ram 1500 limited 4x4 Eco Diesel, rated at 21 miles per gallon in the city, 29 on the highway, now reduced to $37,000. Make it the summer event at Alan Samuels with all of the pre-owned cars. And, of course, you can go and look at, and, man, the unbelievable history and all the awards and bells and whistles of Ram trucks, Jeep and the SUVs, the Jeep Wagoneer, the Jeep Cherokee, the Jeep Grand Cherokee, and so much more. All of it happening, all prices, plus tax, title, and license, including the documentary fee, at Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Loop 340, east of 84 in Waco.
It's in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Hello, I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
Celebrate American value and American quality during the Red, White, and Blue sales event at Richard Car. You want a Richard Car GMC? Get your Sierra now and save $13,000 or more on every truck in stock with trade-in. Save $14,000 on a 2026 GMC Sierra SLE Crew Cab. Or save $13,500 on a 2026 GMC Sierra Pro, now under $29,000. Drive American quality and get American savings during the Red, White, and Blue sales event at Richard Car.
Richard Car, they have the truck for you.
Marco's only uses premium toppings, which means your pizza isn't just flavorful, it's mushroom-full, or sausage-full, or pepperoni-full. And you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas from the place named America's favorite pizza chain starting at $8.99 every day, only at Marco's.
This 4 o'clock hour is brought to you by Stonewood Dental, your one-stop shop for your dental needs, specializing in teeth cleaning, fillings, crowns, sealants, root canals, IV sedation, extractions, implants, bridges, dentures, full mouth restorations, and bioaesthetic dentistry. Our priority is your comfort from the moment you walk through the front door. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas. It's time for the Smoak Show on 365 Sports with Craig Smoak and David Smoak.
Dodd, longtime national college football reporter, columnist, everything. And I was so surprised, Dennis, welcome, 365 Sports. I saw the column and I said, no, this is Dennis Dodd in back with Athlons and Lindy's. And, man, it was great, first of all, because you're a great writer and a great dude. But what was that like to get back in the saddle?
Oh, it was great. They reached out to me. I've been retired for a few months now, but it was nice and flattering, and keep my toe in the water a little bit. Still follow the game. Get those same feelings every Saturday. Like I want to be there. I should be there. 8 o'clock on a Saturday night drinking a beer isn't bad either. Watching late night football, so it's been fun.
So you wrote the column. The Big Ten has taken over college football. Here's how the SEC lost its grip. And I thought, and I think a lot of people, Dennis, probably thought that was not going to happen. Maybe there was going to be an Ohio State or Michigan when they won it recently, or maybe Penn State or whoever. But you just did not know that the Big Ten would make this big jump. And, of course, Indiana, the best story of it. How did this happen? What happened? Did the SEC fall asleep, or did just the Big Ten say, screw it, we got to get better?
Yeah, I mean, I think every one of those is a part of this. The fact that, look, everything in college football and college sports is cyclical. Before the 13 out of 17 national, 6 in a row, unprecedented dominance of the sport. And it took me a while to come around to even, do I want to, write this now? Yeah, I think I have to. When the Big Ten wins 3 outright championships in a row for the first time for them since 1942. They've always had the most money of anybody, going back to 1894 when the league was created. They had the markets, they had the donors, they had the largest living alumni. In fact, it's part of this story, part of another story I did for Lindy's. Come to find out, Indiana has the most living alumni of any school in the country, over 800,000. So the point is, in the portal era, in the NIL era, they somehow found a way to weaponize all of it, because it's a big transition from that endowment to getting a first down and winning games.
Yep.
And the Big Ten did it, specifically Michigan, Ohio State, and obviously Indiana did it. The league is not as good, team to team as the SEC, but don't tell the SEC that right now, because they're struggling. I mean, they can't go through another year with a bunch of 9-3 and 10-2 teams, and their playoff teams fizzle out, because they have been 3 straight years not being in the championship game for maybe the first time ever in the playoffs era.
Yep.
I have to go back and look at that. So the short answer is they weaponized this financial advantage that they've always had for more than 120 years. I can't tell you the exact formula. I don't know if Kurt Signetti knows the exact formula, but that's what they've done.
Dennis, you and I have covered the game forever. For me, 45 years. Bill Snyder at Kansas State. Gary Barnett at Northwestern. There's been some like amazing, even Bryles in that stretch, what he did at Baylor before all hell broke loose. But this is unbelievable with Cignetti. And here's what I like about it. He kind of does it with a little chip on his shoulder and a little smart ass as well that might drive a few people crazy. No one could see this coming, so I'm not going to ask that question.
No.
But this does seem as if this is not some little 1 or 2 year fluke. This looks like he just knows how to coach.
No, he's established something. Look, the only comp for Indiana to me is Kansas State and Bill Snyder.
Yeah.
But even because Indiana's done it, they did it in a year and went to the playoff and then won it all in the second year. It took Bill Snyder, I think, 5 years to go to a bowl, and then they got really good and they won Big 12 titles or Big 12 titles. The other comp is they're both really hard workers. Bill Snyder, Kurt Cignetti. When I talked to him for this story a few months ago, he was in his office, Smokey, breaking down on film every pass thrown in the Power Four last year. And I was, wait a minute, what? And he goes, yeah. Like he was focusing on red zone and 40 yards and in, but he told me at the end of the interview, I'm breaking down every pass thrown last year. I go, you got to be kidding me. And that goes back to Bill Snyder. I think the first time I interviewed him, when he got to K-State, the fourth wall of his office wasn't completed. So we were shooing away flies while there was a tractor outside, a bulldozer, and me trying to interview him. So that's a work ethic you can't. That's a good comparison. But that in both Kansas State and Indiana at a time in their ascension with the losingest teams in the country. So to even start the conversation, you have to start with that. And Kansas State's the only one like that.
So as much as this is driving the SEC, I mean, even kind of under the skin of Sankey. Who we know knows that how powerful the SEC is because he'll tell you, and has done an incredible job there. But some of the coaches, how much of this is also driving Ohio State or Michigan, who, of course, they've got their own problems, including today's Board of Regents meeting. But how much is this even though Ohio State won it a couple of years ago, how much is it driving them? And here's Oregon. They've been banging on the door and really nice and here they go, my God, we can't get to that point, and they've already won it. How much is it driving some teams within the Big Ten? Crazy.
Well, here's how far behind a team like Michigan was. This is a good example that the Big Ten was ahead of the curve on just the transfer portal and NIL. This is two years ago, 2 Augusts ago. So August of 24? I think that was a year. I was doing a story on general managers. Everybody's got general manager.
Oh, yeah.
The portal. They identified that. Okay. So I go to Michigan and talk to their guy, Sean McGee, Navy guy, really smart, really sharp. And I asked him about their portal philosophy or recruiting philosophy. And he basically told me at that point, they were recruiting to the wing helmet. In other words, how can you turn down Michigan? That sounded good in 1963. Not good in 2024.
No.
A month later, as you recall, and the listeners recall, Michigan finally reacted. They had lost the number one recruit in the country who was from nearby Belleville, Michigan, to LSU, who had recruited in January of 24 to LSU. Michigan didn't have a quarterback. And so Larry Ellison of Paramount fame, who's a Michigan alum, comes in and reportedly, again, we had never seen any of these contracts, but reportedly gave him a $10 million deal to come to Michigan. That would turn my head if I had committed to LSU. And so the kid ends up at Michigan. That was the moment where they transitioned from, well, we're just going to recruit because we're Michigan to we got to outspend people. And that was a moment for them. The Big Ten got good because of the portal, because they could outspend teams and get teams to come up there to that weather. Remember, for the longest time, Smokey, what was the Big Ten? Slow, plodding, non-athletic.
Yeah.
Now look at them. Now look at Indiana, face planting people. Having neighbors, having very physical offense. So that's entirely changed because they've been able to do this in the portal.
So with Indiana last year, and then I want to get back to the SEC, Big Ten, et cetera, but was there ever more evidence of, my God, what's happened when Indiana beat the living blank out of Alabama in the playoff 38-3?
Yeah, that is in the piece I did for Lindy's. I can't remember which one, but it featured Paul Feinbaum because I said, who's better to talk about this? It was the Athlon piece. And when you're referring on the SEC, whatever happened to the SEC, tongue in cheek, Paul Feinbaum went nuts. He said, I've never seen an Alabama team give up like that. If people don't remember, 38-3 in the Rose Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
Where, I think their worst postseason loss ever. It's got to be, right? And that, yeah, right. You said that was the moment where, okay, this is real. They just took Alabama to the woodshed and put Kalen DeBoer's job on the line. And it's still on the line despite the extension. But you're right. I mean, I saw that, and it was a combination of Indiana being really, really good. And if you want to believe it, Paul Feinbaum saying that Alabama checked it in.
Yeah, I saw we had a guest on, Ian Fitzsimmons, he works for ESPN, and he was talking.
Of course,
he was gushing over Alabama year 3, and I was like, man, I don't know. So with the extra game the SEC is going to play, which now everybody's playing 9 conference games, the ACC as well, which is something that is kind of a little tug of war with the college football playoff negotiations. But our teams, and I asked this even before, our teams, if this was to go to some sort of the Super League, or with the SEC now playing another game, are Georgia fans and UT fans and Alabama fans and LSU fans, are they prepared that 8-4 records and things like that, they're never going to accept that? Are they? Like, you might have an NFL team that's going to lose some games, but they're going to make the playoffs.
Oh, they'll be, if it goes to 16-24, they'll be 9-3, 8-4. They'll be 9-3, and the way this is, because that's the upside of the SEC going to 9 is their schedule strength will, I think, inevitably carry a 9-3 team in. The downside is the reason everybody finally agreed to a 9th game in the SEC. Remember, it just means more.
Yeah,
is that there is going to be expansion of the bracket. I think there is, but no time in the near future. I think it'll be 2, 3, 4, 5 years before they decide on this, because the Big Ten and the SEC are diametrically opposed to what they want. So what does that mean in the interim for the SEC? It means that Smokey, half the teams in that league are going to lose an extra game, and so that's teams chasing a playoff spot, a conference championship, a winning record, a bowl game. Half of them are going to lose an extra game, and then, of course that's the every other conference is like that now, the ACC. But it does mean more in the SEC because of that schedule strength. And they were persuaded again to do this because everybody's going to be taken care of because the bracket's going to get bigger. Well, I don't think anytime soon. So I think you're going to see some more wailing and gnashing of teeth in the SEC, and hoping against hope that some of these 9-3 teams get in.
So this Big Ten thing, this is here to stay. And there's even, like, Penn State's got to change with Matt Campbell. Not sure how long that might take. We know what he's good at, building things, and now has a chance with so much more in his arsenal to work with. Then there's even school like USC. Lincoln Riley, the first year with Caleb Williams, fantastic, 11-3, I think. And then they've just been okay. Matt Rule, God knows if anyone's ever going to win at Nebraska again. Are they going to always just be a 7-6 team? Is there somebody else that, if they step up, not like so much Indiana, but also pushes that envelope to take the Big Ten even further? Because places like Minnesota, like we say, there's no way. But then again, I mean, we see what Indiana's done.
Yeah, in Illinois with Brett Bielema.
Yeah, he's done a great job. Yeah.
Found his physical mojo. I mean, I think overall we see it could happen. Vanderbilt, Tulane, James Madison, Texas Tech, is a great example before they besmirch their name. Why not? If you get on a roll, then you can do this. And I give Texas Tech a lot of credit. They Texas is doing what they did, or they did what Texas is doing. They're trying to buy a roster, but that's really hard. You can spend money, but you've got to spend it wisely. And then it has to get out on the field, and then you have to have no injuries, and then you have to win a bunch of your games, have the right coach. So I give them loads of credit for what they've done. It's a little bit different at Texas, and I'm going to go off on a tangent. The expectations are a lot higher. There's talk, you probably heard it, is they're spending $50 million on this roster. Well, what is that? If Arch Manning doesn't win the Heisman, or doesn't win the SEC, or Texas doesn't get to the playoff and win it all, $50 million is not going to be well spent.
Yeah, the pressure there is enormous. Anyway, even if there wasn't all of this, and you could spend to build a roster. One more thing, Dennis Dodd again. The Big Ten has taken over college football. Here's how the SEC lost its grip, and we've discussed that. Well, I'll ask you that question. Is there anything we have not brought up, or I've brought up, or anything you've said that is still a part of why this has happened, other than what we've said?
Just the whole transformation. I think. Well, I just keep coming back to the hypocrisy of we have to have guardrails. The game is going to hell. The game is going to hell so much that Indiana's a national championship. The game is going to hell so much that we have record TV ratings, record attendance. It's never been better, never been more popular. Basically, these leaders are saying, save us from ourselves, give us guardrails. But when you do put down guardrails in the form of the Protect College Sports Act, well, I think those apply to everyone but us. I mean, you have the Ohio State AD talking about why even have tampering rules at all, and that's an active discussion in the Big Ten. So it's not in my backyard. So it's the hypocrisy and the lack of leadership. But fortunately, it hasn't touched football Saturdays, thank God.
Oh yeah, man, you and I keep saying this, but it's true, and it's great to talk to you again, Dennis. And the column is great, but you and I have seen it all. And, there was a time I'd take calls and talk radio 30 years ago about players should get paid. And I was like, no, it's like the IRS. Right. You have to pay taxes So is it not amazing? You weren't one of those driven out of the business because like coaches and ADs are because of the changes, are you?
No, not at all. No, am I glad? Am I glad my summer was ruined by covering the stupid the congressional bill every day of the summer?
Oh,
no,
my God. No.
I didn't have to. I didn't have to follow it. Or I didn't have to cover it. Look, I say this a lot. For people that say the players shouldn't get paid, or it's going to go to hell if these things happen, we have lived what it's going to look like for the last 5 years since NIL was allowed. On July 1st, 2021. Look, they're all getting paid. The way things happen right now, they're getting paid unlimited amounts. That can be adjusted, but the game hasn't gone to hell. No. The players, for the most part, Indiana happened. Have there been some locker rooms that fractured because of it? Yeah, Maryland. Mike Lockhart, the head coach there, moved his office into the locker room so it wouldn't fracture again at the beginning of last season. That was going to happen. But for the and I've been amazed that, the players and the coaches have kind of stayed together on this.
Yeah.
What I would like to see is a little more transparency. I'd like to see how much they're getting paid. I don't think that's too much of an ask, especially of a public university. But we've lived it, and the game is thriving. I think we're there. The next step, arguably collective bargaining, I don't think hurts things.
One thing, you saw what Texas Tech was going through, and that story's now, it's basically moved on. And then there's this cat fight.
Yeah.
What was your thought? You covered the Big 12 heavily, like not exclusively, but you covered it heavily. Your thoughts about the Yormark, Big 12, and the showdown that eventually Sorsby is gone with Texas Tech and Joey and Kirby and even Cody Campbell. That got a little tense, my friend.
Yeah, it did. And I give Brett Yormark and his legal team a lot of credit because when Ken Paxton threatened to sue the Texas AG, obviously, that apparently opened a legal hole for the Big 12 to fire back and said, we're gonna suspend it if they play. And that's when they backed off. Back with that artificial deadline of June 22nd looming for the supplemental draft, which didn't matter anyway, as it turned out. I think there's a lot of points to this. It's an example of what's plaguing the country, this billionaire class. None of this happens without Cody Campbell. And I speak to him and I know him, and he's become the de facto owner of Texas Tech football. And he's not the only one around the country, but it was a bad look. This was unique because he's a kid who admittedly had a gambling addiction, gambled on his own team, got a favorable ruling, and I'm not gonna rip the judge or the process, because the first guy recused himself. The second guy is from Tarrant County. He wasn't a Tech grad. He's a Texas, state judge. And the two lawyers who represented Sorsby were magnificent. And people don't know this. What they told the judge was he deserves to play because the NCAA didn't follow its own rules and ruling him ineligible. In other words, they didn't take into account mitigating factors. And they used the mental health thing and all that. Okay. But they got it on a technicality, and that's why the judge ruled in favor. So I'm okay with that, because the NCAA screwed that one up. All they had to say in their response was, despite mitigating factors, we believe that he should be suspended. They wouldn't have had a leg to stand on.
Yep.
And so the judge heard it and it happened. But it's unfortunate. There's a larger story here with gambling itself, how that's kind of gotten into the fabric of the country, and I don't think we're going to see the end of this. Does anybody think that Brendan Sorsby is a one-off? I don't.
Dennis, great to talk to you.
Smokey, thanks so much.
Dennis Dodd, Athlons and Lindy's on 365 Sports.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years. And let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
I get those goosebumps every time.
It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar.
And welcome back to 365 Sports. Time for a little Off the Radar to talk about a couple things that are outside of college football and college sports, although we'll get back to that with Phil Longo here in just a few minutes from now. But the finals are set for the World Cup, not only the championship game, but also the semifinal, I guess, runners-up matchup for third place that will be taking place over this weekend. And that's been fun to get to this point, but I've not really looked at the ratings all that much, because ever since they changed over the formula and then changed it again, and then I think tweaked it another time, and all we've seen for the last year is record-breaking ratings. Well, it's because you fudged the methodology a little bit, and then have kind of maneuvered it around. But because of that, I've not been as keen on the TV ratings as I once was, because I don't know what number to trust as much. But I am going to break that break on talking ratings for World Cup purposes, because how accurate this is or not, we know that there's a massive audience out there, and it's just really impressive to see the numbers coming out of these World Cup matchups. And so when you're looking at the World Cup semifinal game, 15.1 million viewers on Fox for Argentina and England, and the incredible matchup that was with Argentina's late couple of goals that were assisted by Lionel Messi. I mean, if you go back and watch those goals by Argentina and how he helped set the table, and the assist for those massive goals, just that's why he's the GOAT. Just incredible theater and dramatics, and the fan reactions. I mean, between the World Baseball Classic earlier this year and the World Cup, we've gotten just some incredible fan reaction moments over the last few months. And I love watching the pops of crowds. Goes back to like my wrestling fandom, when somebody comes out and the place just explodes. I just love that kind of thing. So had no shortage of that with the World Cup and World Baseball Classic. But yeah, no shortage of viewers either. 15.1 million, the rating for Argentina and England, which was the higher of the two, as Spain and France came in at 11.5 million viewers in the United States. So not bad. Better than a lot of college football. Like the 15 would be up there with like your Ohio State versus Penn Indiana
State,
type of
Oregon,
game. Yeah,
yeah.
somebody like along those lines. So one of your better, bigger Big Ten matchups or SEC matchups. It's in line with something like that. But 11.5 million, not too shaky either. But I took it a step further, because I was curious on what the ratings looked like for the countries themselves. And I was only able to find, at least right now, the Argentina and England viewership. So you had, for Argentina and England, 15.1 million viewers on Fox, which is great. But in the country of Argentina,
this is triple.
On Telefe, they had approximately 31.8 million viewers in Argentina for the win over England in the semifinal. And for some context, the country of Argentina has 46 million people. So 31.8 out of a little over 46 million people in the country of Argentina, in theory, were watching that game, which is like, you would have to go back to the days when there was 3 TV channels and everybody watched the President's State of the Union or the moon landing or whatever to get like that sort of a percentage of the entire country watching the same thing. The Super Bowl obviously is something along those lines. But yeah, nearly 32 million Argentinians in that country watching that game. Meanwhile, in the UK, on BBC One and BBC iPlayer, 22.1 million average in the UK, with a peak of around 24 million viewers. And the note that I saw said this gave BBC an astronomical 85% audience share, making it the most watched television event in the United Kingdom of 2026. And so the percentage is not quite the same, but 69.9 million people in the United Kingdom. And so of that, nearly 22 out of that 70 watching that World Cup game. So pretty incredible to see stuff like that. And just, yeah, the ratings keep delivering for the World Cup. And I'm going to miss it. I really am. Even though I'm not as into it as I was when the Americans were still alive, we've got a couple games still remaining. I'm going to miss just like the pageantry. I was listening to a show in Dallas the other day, and you could tell it was like kind of bittersweet. Like the city's been taken over for 2 months now.
Estimated 600,000 people who have been visiting Dallas in the last month or so.
Oh yeah, I mean, just think they were talking about the Erling Haaland trips to like the Wild West store where he got the raccoon and the cowboy hat and the boots and everything that he got, and just all the attention that it's put on local businesses, like Texas barbecue joints were getting just tons and tons of business. And I did able to pull this up as well. So Spain versus France, as far as their specific viewership goes, so they had 11.5 million for that semifinal in the U.S., but in Spain, you had 14.6 million viewers with a cap of about 20 million viewers watching that one. And the country of Spain has around 48 million people. So nearly half of everybody in Spain was watching that game. And then over in France, it didn't have a specific number for their M6 channel, but apparently it set a record as well. So just thought it was kind of different to look at from the country's perspectives. And they're all about averaging 15 to 20 plus million for these games, plus the 11 million here in the U.S., plus everywhere else. It's insane. It's pretty cool.
It has been, and I've watched the World Cup before. I remember one year I was watching a final, this 20 years ago or so, just because it was a big event like a triple crowd race or the Indianapolis 500 back when I had. It has been unbelievable. This has been an incredible run. And the American team being involved until the round of 16 was fine. That was nice. But it's more than that. It's star after star. And last night, of course, Messi with 2 incredible assists.
Yeah, that was a incredible job by him to create a couple goals. Was that 2 days ago?
No. In fact, if you don't mind, I have an angle from a camera from a fan in the stands on Messi's goal from last night. You want to show that?
Was that yesterday?
Last night.
God, man,
yesterday afternoon. It was like 24 hours ago.
It feels like it was 2 days ago for some reason. That's just wild to me. But yeah, let's go ahead and check it out.
Let's see if you have. It's actually labeled. Amazing. What? You cannot have done this with a sniper's rifle.
Well, you can, but yes, I understand your point that the accuracy unbelievable. And that was the second goal that put him ahead.
You know he's left-footed. I mean, that's his main, he's left-footed. And he did that with his right foot. That also was brought up yesterday evening when I watched some of the post game coverage. Just phenomenal. And the guy that jumped over it's just incredible. That was slow motion of it.
Yeah, no, it was unbelievable to watch him do his thing. And I think, too, they've been aided by star power. I think probably social media has helped a lot with that, just being able to go check out Erling Haaland's Instagram page and see what he's up to, and then see kind of the character that he is, and just all the extra coverage to kind of get to know some of these people. But, yeah, if it's Mbappe or Messi or Haaland or any other number of guys that have become more common and well known to the general public out there. It's been a great event, and still a couple of matches still left to go, including Spain, Argentina in the big finale for all the marbles. So that ought to be an incredible audience that I'll be talking about to some degree next week in this segment.
This consolation game, and I'm sure they've done that for hundreds of years or however long, 100 years. I'm not a fan. We remember they used to have those. They used to have the consolation and a few other professional leagues. I'm not even sure they didn't have a consolation game in the NCAA men's tournament back in the day. I don't understand. I
don't really care. I don't have a strong form opinion on it. I think, there's the element of, and I know several Americans were already comparing it to college. I mean, there's so many parallels between soccer and global soccer and college sports, college football. So people were drawing parallels to sitting out a bowl game. Like, are all the best players going to sit out that third place game to try to avoid injury or just rest up a little bit? And I think there will be probably some element because it's just for third place, like you said. But I guess it's a spot on the podium. It's a pride thing. It's representing your country. How many guys are going to be able to be back and represent your country 4 years from now? Some of them will. but some of them won't. So I think there's plenty riding on it and just representing your country that we kind of lose sight of. But yeah, there's probably going to be some guys that sit, and I guess it's just tradition. Maybe it's a money grab. I don't know. I don't know why they do the consolation game. I'm sure there's a explanation for it, but yeah, I don't think that's going to get nearly the attention, obviously, that championship game gets. I'll be curious to see what the rating comparison is for a game that doesn't really matter to most people and the game that matters the most.
Let's put it this way. The NFL playoffs, the two teams that lose in the conference championship game play each other.
Right, but we're college aficionados trying to float the I guess I'm trying to think if it was a great comparison or not, but I guess it wasn't the losers playing each other, but the whole idea of doing like the mini tournament instead of a conference championship game, and you'd have like, like 8 played 1 and then 5 played 4 and that kind of thing. But then I don't remember if there was any scenarios where the losers then played each other for like a playoff spot. I feel like I came across some version of that at some point.
If it was to get into a tournament,
right, that's different because there's something on it. I think it's pride. I think it's representing your damn country. Like, I don't think it needs to be more complicated than that.
If you're England and you have to get up off the mat, because that was a kick in the nuts yesterday afternoon. No, and France too. So we'll see how interested they are in that game.
Well, and it's also France, England playing each other.
No,
I mean, there's
true.
no love lost there.
Yeah.
So there's going to be plenty of hatred and heat there, and I'm sure the fans will gobble it up. It was interesting. I don't know why that feels like it was 2 days ago to me, but it does. But nevertheless, it was fun to watch some English live streams of the reaction. And it's, again, very similar to anything you'd see here in America after like the Vikings lose and you jump onto the Minnesota page and you watch them freak out. But yeah, the English were very unhappy. They were particularly upset with their manager and the decision to kind of sit on a 1-0 lead, which again, we can draw parallels
to an NFL game when you play prevent defense.
Right.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of that, a lot of hand wringing over basically playing prevent defense up 1-0 instead of going for the kill. So I can't wait to have a bunch of similar conversations here in about a month and a half with Tech versus Houston or something like that. But great event. It's all coming to an end. It was just interesting to hear some of the Dallas radio guys kind of realizing the end is near and all their new buddies are going to be leaving and all this new business that's been around. But I did see some of the financials, and there's some restaurants that made more in the last 2 months than they made in the last 2 years.
Do you think Rocco's did well because of Jell-O shots in Omaha? That's like nothing compared. Like someone said, if somebody was to open a Buc-ee's anywhere in Europe, it would be it'd be gold, like plated, because it would be so rich of all the money that people would put in there.
Yeah, and there's an example of Terry Black's, which there's a Terry Black's here, but David Beckham showed up and they were able to like call ahead and get a private table or whatever for him and his crew, and they were taking pictures and everything. But I want to say it was Terry Black's that I was hearing the story where they had to actually, and maybe I'm confusing, but I think it was that. And if not, it's just another Dallas area barbecue joint. But I think it was Terry Black's because they have a location here.
Yeah, they have one downtown
Austin.
Off of Austin, or maybe, Austin Avenue or Franklin.
But they had to
Austin Avenue.
Get, I think it was briskets from their other locations shipped up to Dallas or driven up to Dallas to satisfy the need for all of the World Cup fans. So yeah, they did I think $2 million in the last month.
I would love, Craig. Yes. I would love for all the, anyone who came from whatever countries that came to watch and be at the World Cup venues. And I'd like to weigh them when they got to the country. And how much do they weigh now with all the American food when we just like to eat?
Yeah.
A lot of things.
Well, I think they understand more why we like to eat so many things. They also understand why there's an obesity problem in some places, and why, we love what we love because we have no shortage of delightful things as most of the world has learned here. So I think it was Terry Black's was the one that had to get the Waco and Austin locations to send them up some meat to meet all of the demand. So looking forward to the final and the third place game coming up this weekend. Meanwhile, I'll just close it out with this British Open. I don't care so much, but I thought I'd at least bring it up to you that's ongoing now, because there's not a lot of other stuff in the sports world that's like super current or relevant right now, unless you want to talk about LeBron James just talking more about how he still doesn't know where he wants to play.
No, because that's going to linger linger.
Third time in the last week, I've seen that as the top headline on ESPN is the same. I don't know where I'm going yet, but the PGA Open Championship, Jackson Suber, the American, is currently on top of the leaderboard at 5 under. Sung Jae Im is in second place at 4 under, along with Dan Brown. And then in third place, Thomas Detry and Robert McIntyre. So I don't know if any of those names
Robert
mean anything
McIntyre's
to
a
you,
good
but
player. He's I think he's from Ireland, lefty. He's going to win He's going to win an Open Championship before it's all said and done. It's just destiny. Bryson DeChambeau is 3 under, where he has struggled in the majors. Nick Faldo made a comment to him or about him that he didn't have any strategy at the Open Championship. And so DeChambeau goes out and shoots 67. And then when they asked him about it, he goes, well, and he used the word strategy, strategic, all of that like 9 times just to kind of throw shade back at Faldo.
I'm not surprised that Bryson DeChambeau is choosing the petulant route, or the I'm going to play ball and throw it back at you route. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Like I said, I don't have a lot that's really of interest relevant today, but I'm glad you brought up Bryson, because I was just wondering, this is just something I randomly came across, but do you watch much Steph Curry playing golf?
He's good. He's at that, what is it? They go to Vegas or Reno or Tahoe.
He finished, I believe, 3rd in the most recent one.
He's good. A couple of former hockey. There's some hellacious.
But Bryson does a series, and I don't watch much of it, but I did come across it this week, and it's the I forget what the official title of it is, so forgive me, but they basically try to break 50.
Yes.
Him and a partner.
Yes.
And he had a video with Steph Curry where they traded shots and best ball or whatever to try to break 50 on 18-hole course. It might be worth checking out. I don't know. I wondered if you'd watch much Steph Curry, the golfer.
I've seen it, but yeah, and the word strategy's up on all over Google about him using that. I have seen it. I've seen him take just some random over the top of a house to a green in the backyard of his house or other houses to see if he can get
that was the one that went viral like 3 or 4 years ago, where he was shooting it over his house. But this is more of a series that he does where you try to break 50 and you go best ball with a partner. So it was DeChambeau and Curry. It was from a while back, but I was looking through golf stuff and came across like a Steph interview where he was talking about whether he could be a PGA golfer, and he was very smart in his answer. No surprise. And like, you can tell he clearly believes he could do it because he's Steph freaking Curry and he's already pretty damn good. So he said, like, if I devoted all my time to it, I feel pretty good about my chances. But I also understand how difficult it is, and I don't want to disrespect current PGA guys by saying, "Oh yeah, I could totally do that." But I feel really good about what I could do.
I remember back in Jordan's glory days, and he started playing golf, and they were talking about that. He had
part of why him and Curry get along is golf love.
Yeah, that golf, and they go gamble and have fun with it on the course, but there's no way. That's ridiculous. He played minor league baseball in the White Sox.
Jordan,
but Jordan, Curry. He can play golf, but Curry's good, and Jordan was good. Now he's good, but no, Curry's really, really, really good. Laser sharp.
I think if Curry put his mind to it, he probably could, because he's that kind of just like a mind and an athlete. But yeah, anyways, there you go. There's a few things off the radar.
All right, Craig, thank you very much. Let's break. Do we have Coach Longo? We do not. I think he was trying to find the link that we sent earlier in the day. Let's take a break here and then come back. We hope to have Sam Houston State football coach Phil Longo, and then, of course, the big finish with Andrew Valade. This is the Smoak Show on 365 Sports YouTube.
Have you heard of the new IRA? The new IRA Insurance Retirement Advantage is the solution for high-income individuals and business owners who want to grow and protect their wealth without locking up capital or taking unnecessary risks. The new IRA Insurance Retirement Advantage is an option you need to know more about and is only available exclusively from North Star Funding Partners at northstarfundingpartners.com.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Make this the summer event at Allen Samuels in Waco. Get behind the wheel of an iconic new Dodge Charger RT and score $5,000 in savings. First responders and military members get an extra $500 bonus. Allen Samuels Dodge.
Come by, let's be friends.
Hi, I'm Dana Hassel, President and CEO of American Bank. Waco is a great place for business, and for more than 70 years, American Bank has been the bank for business. We continue to invest in our growing community with state-of-the-art branches conveniently located to serve you within minutes. Our experienced bankers, lenders, and decision makers work directly with business owners like you every day, providing tailored solutions, timely answers, and local insights, face-to-face. Schedule a meeting with one of our bankers today and find out what makes American Bank the bank for your business. Member FDIC.
At Home Place Interiors, we elevate your space with elegance and class. We are the exclusive Sonoma tile dealer in Central Texas, bringing you the best in high-end floor coverings that transform your home with beauty and elegant design. Our white glove service and expert consultations ensure your vision becomes a reality as we take you step by step through the process. Call today to schedule your personal design consultation. Visit HomeplaceInteriorsTX.com. Home Place Interiors, crafting elegance, one room at a time.
This 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Ben Erlinson and Brad Wilson in Waco, and Cam Heathcott in Conroe, with an individualized approach to addressing your financial needs, including education, savings, planning for retirement, and protection strategies. Edward Jones Financial Advisors, making sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. It's time for the Smoak Show on 365 Sports with Craig Smoak and David Smoak.
Here we are in the 5 o'clock hour, and we are joined by Sam Houston State football coach Phil Longo. He joins us on 365 Sports, and a team last year that had no home field advantage. Bauer Stadium has been renovated. I saw some of the pictures, Coach, and you're back home. I can't even imagine what that was like, but let us know what you see from what they've done to Bauer Stadium.
Well, it's a completely, first, thanks for the invite on the show, but it is a completely different picture right now. It's feels great to know that we'll be playing half our season at home, which wasn't the case last year. But ribbon cutting day is July 30th. Took a walk through the new side of the stadium earlier in the week, and that section of the stadium is as impressive as we've had in that area just about anywhere I've been. So we're excited about it. There's 12 luxury boxes, $250,000, $250,000 for each luxury suite. The club level will generate a tremendous amount of revenue for us. And then obviously the floor for the coaches and media and everything is beyond impressive. So, and we will also have training table there to feed our players. So this is some much needed facilities that this program required, and the president and the AD are committed to doing what we need to do to keep our program moving in the right direction. And so this is the next big $65 million step that Sam Houston is taking.
Absolutely a commitment. Was last year at times a blur because of the having to pack up and I guess bus to Houston? And what was and even I know this, you struggled with your record, but other than that, was that kind of a blur?
Yeah, yesterday I told media same thing I'm going to tell you. This was in my 38 years coaching, this was the hardest season I've ever been through, and I'm really not talking about the level of opponent, although it was beyond respectable. I mean, we played some fantastic football teams, but this was the most logistically challenging and the most exhausting I've ever been through, primarily because of just the way everything fell. I got hired late. There were 58 players already in the portal and gone before I even got here. We were not funded. with regards to recruiting, probably the only unfunded FBS program in the entire country. Then we have no home games, including a 9-hour flight up and back to Hawaii. And then, after a 4-game stint, we finished up with UT before we got into conference play. And it just felt like, we started camp July 22nd. We had 3 bye weeks during the season. One of them was 16 days long. And I don't know that you could stack the cards any more difficult than they were last year. I will never do it again. And I think the one thing I underestimated was the cumulative effect of playing 12 away games. This year we're going to see Bearcat tailgating. This year, when we score a touchdown, they'll actually cheer for it. This year, we will have the advantage of not traveling 6 weeks out of the season. And we don't start camp till August 5th. So it feels a lot more normal this year. And then in addition, and probably the most important improvement outside of our $65 million stadium renovation is the implementation of competitive rev share for a group of 6. And that enabled us to finish recruiting this year, January 23rd, as opposed to June 23rd of last year.
How much did you enjoy, or what did you think about the one portal window?
I think the one portal window is the best. It's the best model that we've had. It makes no sense to me to have 2 portal windows. It makes no sense to me to not allow a university, a football program, the head coach, its staff to have any idea if the team that they're coaching, in February, March, and April is actually the team they're going to have during the season because there's a May portal. So I thought that was probably the worst thing that came about with all of the turmoil that we've had with NIL and rev share and the portal window and, all of the rule changes and everything we've gone through. So the deletion of a second portal window to me is probably the best thing we could have done in light of what's going on at this time.
You went through 3 quarterbacks who started games for you last year, and then I believe Locke is back. Landon Locke is back. He weathered the storm. Your thoughts about him? I think, is your starter going into the season?
He is our starter going into the season. There is a lot more continuity in that room and stability with Landon Locke securing the starting job. We were initially planning on redshirting Landon last year. And just the way things went, to his credit, he came in and said, I'm not worried about burning a red shirt. I want to help our football team. And if it's what we need right now, I'm certainly willing to do it. And so we did that. And he played in, more than 4 last year. And that became of little concern. And I do think the reps and the starts that he got towards the second half of the season last year paid great dividends in his presence and his demeanor and his confidence in the spring. And he's doing a phenomenal job leading this football program.
Coach, going back to what you were listing out as far as just to some of the things you were up against, I mean, obviously going and pounding the table in front of the donors is one of the things that you have to do constantly, trying to find the money and try to find the resources and all of that. But just as a coach, just when you got a chance to kind of take a breath and decompress at the end of the year, knowing there's a lot of things that are not totally in your control that needed to be addressed and needed to be improved, like just how did you view that as a coach, and just how did you kind of digest last year and then decide, okay, here's what we do next?
Well, there were some resources, some tools that we needed last year that we didn't have. And, I realized early on after I was hired here that this on my part was going to take a year of patience because it's very hard to field a competitive FBS program with no funding, and conversely, you look at 3 programs that historically have not been top 15 programs and they are funded very well right now. And you see schools and this is not to take away from anything that they're doing from a coaching standpoint or a player work ethic standpoint, but the funding got better at Vanderbilt. It got better at Texas Tech. It certainly got better at Indiana. And they're reaping the rewards from that. Do they still have to work hard and train and go play? Of course they do. Do they still have to coach and not screw it up with a bunch of good athletes? Absolutely. It takes a lot of tremendous coaching and a commitment by the players to go succeed and do the things that those three programs did. But finances were certainly an asset to them. And that is, what became an asset to us that's available to us this year that we didn't have last year. And that's probably the most drastic change. The thing that's constant here is the support for football. It's the support for athletics at this campus. And so there are a lot of people here that have helped us get to where we are now. And we're going to need every day between now and opening day on September 5th. But I think, you mentioned the first time we had a chance to breathe. It was not in December. It was probably 2 weeks ago when we got our first week of vacation during 4th of July. And we all enjoyed that. But we're back here for workouts, and we're excited about starting camp on August 5th.
You have this history with the air raid, and obviously Mike Leach and more. Phil, I don't know what you're doing, if that's what you're, but is anyone running the air raid of what we saw when it was launched a few years back?
No, not really. And it's a little misleading. The words air raid immediately make everybody think about throwing the ball over the yard. The air raid here philosophically has not changed since the day that it influenced me. I mean, I wouldn't be sitting here as the head coach of Sam Houston right now without Mike Leach. He became, I've had three mentors in football, John Bunning, George DeLeon. Those are some older names and some phenomenal coaches. But Mike Leach was the main deal, and he's the one that helped me develop into the coach that I am today, especially from a philosophical standpoint. And he's been gone a few years now, and I miss him. But philosophically on offense, we're going to throw the ball using the air raid philosophy. We're also going to run the ball using the same philosophy. And it's simple. We're going to run fewer plays. We're going to run them a little faster. We're going to run them over and over out of a myriad of different looks in an effort to, and we're going to be balanced. I enjoyed once a week, I would talk to Mike about scheming for the next week's opponent. And he would always ask me on Sunday to send him a few plays before we got on the phone. And, I would piss him off all the time because I'd always send him a run play first, and he didn't want to talk about running the football. And then I had to follow that up with the passing game because it's the only thing he wanted to talk about. But so we are very committed to running the ball. We want to be able to throw the ball as effectively and just have enough of a balance so that if somebody's going to defend the run game in a particular game, then we're able to throw it the way we need to win the ball game, and vice versa. If they're going to drop 8 and pass rush, we want to be able to run the ball well enough to be effective either way. I don't care. And so that's where we are philosophically on offense.
It is incredible to see, hear, and just continuously see and hear more of kind of the tentacles and the branches of Mike Leach and how far that has extended. I mean, it's unbelievable the amount of lives that he touched. Safe to say you were happy to see that eligibility tweak that'll probably lead to getting him into the Hall of Fame there.
I think it's just a matter of time. People appreciate trailblazers. They appreciate people that advance the game or the business or the whatever in any walk of life. And I think it was just a matter of time before they found a way to do what they should do, and that's to honor Coach Leach in the right way and honor what he's done for the game. And he's changed it, and it'll never change back. And it's you're seeing it all over the NFL and all over college football.
By the way, you also mentioned a name and RIP to him as well, but George DeLeon. We were huge George DeLeon fans when he was here at Baylor. Got to know him a little bit, and man, he was a character. But what a great ball coach he was too. Well,
George was the first collegiate coach that I developed a true relationship with when I was younger, and he kind of set me straight. When you graduate college as a player and you become a coach right away. I don't know how it is for other former players, but, my first 3-4 years in college football, I thought I had all the answers. I thought I knew everything you needed to know about college football. And then I visited Paul Pasqualoni and George DeLeon at the University of Syracuse, University. And I remember driving home after 10 days of intensive X's and O's with those two. And I realized I don't know anything about college football. And I said, you know what, if I really want to make a living in this business, I got to stop pretending and start studying. And and he was just completely vital for me in my development as a coach. And so I am very thankful that I played for John Bunning. I'm very thankful that George DeLeon, who is the grinder of all grinders, was my first influence from a work ethic standpoint. And then philosophically and schematically, I meet Mike Leach, and the rest is history for me. So I have been extremely fortunate, and I feel very fortunate to be the head coach at Sam, and I'm excited about getting going with our second season.
Do you even know, and I'm not asking you flippantly, like who's in your conference with the way realignment is? Because there's a lot of G6 conferences that have like changed in the last, officially on July the 1st. Do you at times have to go, wait, did we play them or not? I mean, is it like that at times?
I just needed to learn it when I first got here. I have followed Sam since I left. I've lived each season as much as I could. I have my own job to do, but I've gone back and watched all their. I love the people here. I appreciate what this place has done for me, and so I followed them. And it was this entire staff had to educate themselves on Conference USA, and then as we were coming in, we had a couple teams leaving. UTEP and La Tech left, and then we moved Delaware and Missouri State in, so you line it up. Yeah, I have a lot of respect for all the head coaches in Conference USA. Fully aware of what our conference schedule is this year. We've got a gauntlet of first 4 games to go through, and then we'll get into conference play. But this is felt a lot more normal. We laid the blueprint and the foundation last year. I have stability with my staff. We only replaced one coach. We're one of 9 programs, I'm told, to only replace one coach on the entire staff. And we added Jack McNell, who was my only coach at North Carolina, Wisconsin, and Ole Miss. So we're back and we're together for the 4th time.
I just thought about this, Phil. When Casey Keeler was there, and I think it was either right after COVID or what, when they were making the transition, he redshirted his entire roster, I think, one year, and they took a beating. And then last year, you kind of had to do that again with all the facilities, the lack of funds or whatever. Sam Houston State's a really good football program, but there have been a couple of unique years that they've had to get through, I guess, right?
Well, this was probably the most unique. The job that Sam Houston was when I was here as the offense coordinator in 14, 15, and 16, it's a very different job now than it was even 2 years ago. When I got here, we were headed towards the New Orleans Bowl to play Georgia Southern, and they won that game. And then I come back, and the things that changed were Group of 6 wasn't a very highly funded level of football. They were still Conference USA. There wasn't a lot of money, if any, in the conference, and that really didn't hit Group of 6 at such a large level until last year. And unfortunately, we weren't able to ante up to that table at the time. So that is why I said I needed a year of patience. I knew that we were going to have to, to overcome a lot of disadvantages, primarily financially. And now I think we're in a different place now, and for a lot of reasons, most of which we have talked about. But this is just a different job than it was a few years ago, and I am definitely up for the task. I am looking forward to it. Couldn't do it without the great staff that we have, and I'm equally as excited right now about the players in our locker room heading into the 2026 season.
I know you got the Texas High School Coaches Association, 14 or 15 or how many thousand coaches will be in Houston, and you're going to speak at that along with others. I have one question. I saw this on your Twitter feed. The devil whispers, "You cannot withstand the storm." At the bottom of the image of a lion, the warrior replies, "I am the storm." How long have you had that in your repertoire?
I was very fortunate at a younger age to have been influenced by a number of people that felt the only way to get through life is to attack it. And that made the most sense to me. And it made, I was a boxer. I played football. I'm an aggressive-minded person. And I needed to do two things to be able to perform at this level of college ball, and that was I had to establish some patience. Well, my children did that 15 years ago. I think when you are a father and you need to be patient with kids, it just teaches you. I'm a lot more patient with my players now than I was before I had kids. And then the other part of it is the earlier in your life that you can establish something you truly believe in with regards to being successful in life and pursuing the things that you want, the better chance you have. Dreams are wonderful, but if you don't put them to a plan and start getting after it, they're just dreams. And so I feel fortunate. I can't pinpoint the day or the time or even the person, but I just learned at an early age that if you want something, you have to attack it. And that's been my mindset ever since. And it works for me. And so I'm trying to relay that message to our team and our staff. And that's how I want to run our program.
Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it, Phil. Appreciate your time. And good luck at the convention with all the seminars, speaking engagements, and more. Have a great day.
Well, much respect for you. Thanks for the invite.
Thank you. Phil Longo, head football coach at Sam Houston State. Imagine an entire season. Like, KU's had their stadium where there's like half the stadium. They play games in Kansas City of like losing every one of them as you renovate and then rebuild. Basically, I've been to Bauer Stadium a few times. And now it's really nice looking, and they got all the bells and whistles.
Yeah, that's a road trip to Hawaii followed by the road trip to Texas is a real whammy. And I know they had some time in between that, but still, that's I'm very interested in the Ireland and London games this year and what kind of an effect we see on those teams, because there does seem to be some type of a drag on certain teams, if not all the teams that play over there. I mean, K-State actually managed things pretty well. I think there's more of a negative reaction to their record than their record actually indicated, but I know it was just kind of the feelings around the program and climbing and all of that more than anything else. And the way it started off with Avery Johnson's family getting into a tussle and all that kind of stuff. It was just all weird from the beginning. But yeah, that Arizona State-Kansas game, does that have an effect on either one of those teams throughout the rest of the year? And yeah, the travel matters.
TCU is playing what?
North Carolina and London. So they'll be in Dublin. Yeah, they're in Dublin, and then Arizona State, Kansas is in London, I believe.
Wembley,
at Wembley Stadium. So like that could very well come into play. I do think travel matters to some degree. And that's kind of something you monitor, but I can see where, going to Hawaii, coming back, trying to get your wits about you, then going to Austin to play that team, that ultra talented team at their place. That was a tough turnaround. So it was a tough year, but like you said, there's a lot of things they were working against. And so now you've got a fresh off season under your belt and some time to breathe and some new toys and some new investments and things of that nature. So hopefully it works out for them and works out better this year, because it sounded like last year was just, you're kind of happy when it was over, but also knowing there was a lot of work to do. So they've been busy, and we'll see how those seeds they planted grow this upcoming season.
All right. Yeah, you're right. By the way, appreciate his time. Thank you to Ben Ricard, who's an SFA grad working at Sam Houston State. I didn't think
that was allowed.
That might be a felony. All right.
Yeah.
Let's we got a lot to get to. There's one super chat, then we'll get to the wheel, the quizzes, and also the poll results. Here is the super chat from today. Retired stockbroker, I'm in point blank. I want his barber's name. Yeah, that was a crew cut. And he said he's a former boxer. You could see that in Phil Longo too, with that jaw and that square, just square jaw. Thank you, retired stockbroker, for the super chat. Now, let's spin the wheel.
I feel like they're the.
Now, that it used to be like you couldn't even see
If dinosaurs were real again, do you think the world would have them under control, or do you think Jurassic Park would actually happen? No, we'd find a way to enslave the dinosaurs to like make them create electricity or something that we could then make money off of. Is probably what would happen. We'd find a way to keep them under the thumb and working for us in some capacity. I think like, if there's an actual Jurassic Park, that would be the coolest thing in the entire world, and that would be by far the most popular and successful theme park in history if you could go actually see the dinosaurs. But yeah, it would be a really cool park. But as far as the control, I think there'd be a lot of those cattle prods and things of that nature that I think we saw in some of the movies that they would use to do that. No hurricane would come knock the power offline and the unraveling of all the events that would occur after that. I think that was just for Hollywood.
All right, here's the thing. I looked it up. Tyrannosaurus Rex typically measured 40 feet in length and stood about 12 to 13 feet tall. That would be hard to control one of those.
Not behind a freaking metal electrified fence.
Yeah, I know.
That's the whole point of Jurassic Park.
I don't like if they had to be electrified.
Okay, well, you're not going to keep T-Rex behind a chain link.
Well, that's my point. Like,
you're not going to be able to.
I haven't been to a zoo in a while, but I really used to love going to the zoo to see, from the lions and elephants and giraffes and all that kind of thing. But that would be.
Have you ever been to the one here?
Yeah, Cameron Park. Yeah, it's very unique.
It takes only about 30 minutes.
It's literally like across from where we are, like about 5 minutes from here.
For a town of 100,000 something. It's actually really nice park. Reminds me of my hometown, Tyler. Caldwell Zoo is a great zoo. It's an incredible zoo for a town that size, and I'd loved nothing more than going there, whether family trips or field trips at school. Like Caldwell Zoo is.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a great memory of mine. But yeah, I think it would depend. Like, is Elon in control of the dinosaurs, or is it like some conservation place, or is it like some evildoer that is just trying to make as much money as possible? That would probably matter, but we'll never know. We will never know.
All right. So the answer is, do you think the world would have them under control? I would hate to say yes, because it's probably because they are caged or drugged.
Yes. Yeah,
there's no question.
We'd have them under control.
All right. Thank you very much, Andrew, for that one. Let's go 2-0 today. The quizzes. Number one, on July the 16th of 1945, the world's first atomic bomb was detonated. Years later, a 42-1 underdog bombed the world by ending Mike Tyson's undefeated streak. And who was it? And we know the answer is in blue.
Jake Paul.
No, stop. That's not even fighting.
Of course, because Tyson couldn't hold Jake Paul's jockstrap, right?
No, you're right.
Yeah.
Of course, Holyfield had his ear bit off by Buster Douglas.
Buster Douglas.
I'll go ahead. Let's see the answer. And it's Buster Douglas. Craig, you read it.
I don't like being ordered what to do. No, in what remains the biggest bombshell in boxing history, Buster Douglas defied the astronomical odds at the Tokyo Dome, controlling the ring before unleashing a devastating 10th round combo that floored Tyson for the first time ever. Motivated by the tragic passing of his mother just weeks prior, Douglas completely shattered Tyson's aura of invincibility. And so, yeah, I think that was pretty well known and still famous all these years later. And Tyson, definitely a different man than back then. Who saw his like Hollywood turn coming and how popular of like a celebrity he became ultimately. But haven't heard from Mike in a while. I don't know what he's been up to. I saw him in the news like a while back for some venture, but Buster Douglas is clearly the answer. And yeah, that's famous. I have no recollection of it at all. I don't think I was around for it.
I had just finished up doing a men's basketball game in Tyler at Wagstaff Gym. I was getting in my car, and there was an ABC News alert that Buster Douglas had knocked out Mike Tyson. And I sat there in my car like, what the, what? Like, what? Didn't even know much about Buster Douglas, and knocked him out. And Tyson was never the same. Like when Ronda Rousey got beat, Holly Holm or whatever her name was.
Yeah, Holly Holm.
Never was the same. Yep. McGregor never was the same. And the same thing with Mike Tyson.
So I just happened to look up Mike Tyson. You might have heard me like kind of laughing for a second. So I just randomly was wondering, I was like, oh, we hadn't heard from him. Well, I didn't watch the ESPYs, so I didn't see. I'm assuming you didn't watch the ESPYs either.
No, I did not. No.
But actually, he was on stage with Jake Paul, and he was also with what looks like DJ Khaled. And apparently, and I just totally missed this by not watching the ESPYs, but they announced the winner of the award for best single game performance, and it was Shohei Ohtani. And Tyson turns to Jake Paul and says, Shohei's a guy? So I don't know what that's.
Oh, my God.
Too many hits to the head, I guess. But, he's just the most famous athlete in the world, not named any of the World Cup guys that we've been talking about here lately.
He was 37-0 when he lost to Douglas in Tokyo. And then he reeled out 5 or 6 fights, won. And then Evander Holyfield started to torment him. Lennox Lewis tormented him. And then, of course, you mentioned that Jake Paul was his last fight.
Yeah.
Fight.
Yeah.
All right.
The net fights, as they are, the big fights these days.
Let's go to quiz number 2. We're 1-0.
A 2007 photo recently resurfaced showing a 20-year-old Barcelona player bathing baby Lamine Yamal for a charity calendar. Which soccer legend was holding the future star? Wow, what a small world.
Messi.
Is it?
I saw this. I saw this initially. I saw this like maybe 2 to 5 days ago, and I was like, "That's Photoshop." It was Messi holding, this young child, and I just happened to see that, so I'm going to get it. It's the kid from Spain, Andres Iniesta.
How is it him if it's Lionel Messi?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I thought that's who he was holding, is Lamal. You're right. The guy that they're going to face. It was Lionel Messi who was in the picture with Lamine Yamal.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Got that one right. Here we go. There it is.
Go.
Yep. That's the exact picture.
Wow. I've not seen that. I've clearly not been making the full rounds on the internet lately. In a wild twist of fate, Yamal's family won a UNICEF raffle to be photographed with a Barcelona player, randomly pairing the infant with a young, incredibly shy Messi at Camp Nou. The photo became the ultimate football prophecy years later, as both shared legendary pass through La Masia Academy and now on the world's biggest stage in the finals. So, well, I thought I was sure that it was going to be like his father or something with some major soccer star. And so that's how that would come about. But that's really random to be as crazy prophetic as it seems to be now looking at it in 2026 vision. So, yeah, that's wild that took place all that time ago. And now here we are and they're where they are. That's wild stuff.
All right. So those are the 2 quizzes. Let's see what Andrew dialed up for the polls. In fact, Scotty Scheffler started today at 4 under, ended up 2 under par. Who wins the 26 Open Championship after the first round? We kind of went through some of the scores, and Scheffler with 45%, the field with 27, and then Rory McIlroy, who's 2 over. He could not make shots today at 18%. Fleetwood or Fitzpatrick. I think Fitzpatrick's kind of 2 or 3 over par. Fleetwood's in pretty good shape. He's a grinder at 10%. There we go. Scheffler with 45%. And again, was 4 under, and then 12 holes in a row, had a bunch of pars and a couple of bogeys. All right, poll question number 2. This is not this. I know music, but I'll let you defer to Craig. Which legendary band is the absolute king of Southern rock?
I mean, I'm no expert. Everybody's got their different taste. I mean, I think of Leonard Skinner, and I do. I think of Southern rock, and I think of the damn Confederate flag and the Leonard Skinner CD covers and the images I've seen over the years. And obviously that flag would be very taboo now if they wouldn't probably be accompanied by that. But just the imagery of Leonard Skinner and seeing their covers and hearing Sweet Home Alabama a million times in life, as well as other great songs of theirs. Yeah, that's who I think of. So I'm in line with most other people here. Allman Brothers, excellent. Dwayne's one of the big what ifs in Rock history. ZZ Top, incredible. The longevity, unmatched. Marshall Tucker Band, like, yeah, all great choices. But I do think of Leonard Skinner first. If you say word association, no options at all, just Southern rock, I would say Leonard Skinner.
Yeah, that's who I said. As ZZ Top, obviously, bangers, Allman Brothers, Marshall Tucker Band, so 110 votes, and Leonard Skinner dominates with 63% of the vote. All right, before we say goodbye, I showed you the slow motion of Messi and the assist that is threading the needle. This is a great way to close out the show. Which one are we going to do first, the broadcaster or the high school game? Let's do the high school game. This was announced. I got this text late last night. My alma mater, I have 3 high schools I went to in 4 years. One of them is Randolph High School, south in San Antonio on the Air Force Base. And the hated rival was Cole on Fort Sam Houston State, Fort Sam Houston. They announced today that they're going to play each other after like 60 years of a rivalry inside the Alamodome. So that was pretty cool. And they sent that to me. I'm going to try to see if I can get there based on my high school schedule in mid-October, the first time they'll play anywhere other than at one or the other's home fields.
Wonder if Shaq will be there for his alma mater.
Maybe he will be.
San Antonio Cole.
Yep, Shaq. Those two teams, they don't like each other, but great rivals. I've highlighted it a few times during the 45 years of covering high school football.
Yeah, you should definitely try to make there if the schedule allows. Maybe somebody could fill in for that broadcast or something like that. But yeah, that's cool. They're playing at the Alamo Dome. Makes sense. I don't know what kind of size we're talking about as far as crowd expectations, but clearly enough to go to that building. So, man, I have not been to the Alamo Dome in like 20-something years, and I still remember the crickets like it was just yesterday. The massive amount of crickets when the Cowboys training camp used to be there.
Yep.
They were everywhere in that building, but spent a lot of time there, and it's a good place to watch a game.
I think I got a game that night. We'll see if I can find somebody to do it for me with Midway playing at home. All right, there we are with that. Congratulations to those 2 great schools on military bases, and one of the few in the country with high schools actually on a base with Randolph and Cole. All right, what we will do now, Rez, do we have the broadcaster? This is the call. We saw the Messi assist and header. Here is the call from the Argentinian broadcaster, Pablo Geralt.
Abierto Nico González y Argentina entusiasmado, embalado, con fe, vamos. Va Nico a buscar mano a mano, lo marca Conza, no deja atrás para Julián, viene para Julián, entrega para Enzo, va Enzo, abrió la cancha para Nico, va para Nico, mete por abajo, le queda Alexis, apuntó y disparó, palo, va para Messi, Valeo, pegó en el palo, pero qué trasero que tienen, por Dios, por no hacer otra cosa, viene Messi, va Messi, mete el centro, ¡gol!
There's no carrying the question. There's no carrying the question. Like rarely ever led into the wins they've had until like tying it or taking the lead in the last minute of extra period or penalty or whatever. They still going. That was phenomenal. All right, thank you, Rez, for doing that. Appreciate that.
Yeah, that's pure passion and emotion. Could you do a broadcast holding the microphone like that?
No,
Would you want to do that?
I've done that one time before, back when some equipment went south and doing a junior college. Everything happens to be when I was doing junior college basketball. That's a nightmare.
Yeah, no,
that's a nightmare.
I heard the full clip of that. It's like a minute long. He just keeps going and going and going. But yeah, for somebody who does not claim to have a lot of soccer knowledge, but can obviously see how they're sort of setting things up and the strategy and all of that. Messi's influence on both of those goals is just like absolutely incredible shit. Like it really is. I mean, it's
good way to, you're right.
But I mean, that's why he's the GOAT, and there's not really much argument about that. But yeah, like his part in creating or assisting in those 2 goals that late. I mean, it's incredible theater. I can only hope I will not be here tomorrow, so I won't be able to talk about it tomorrow at all. But I hope the World Cup goes out with an incredible game, just because it would be fitting for it to be an all-time classic, and to have Messi or somebody involved in the deciding goal. Ought to be a huge event, and look forward to watching it on Saturday.
Yeah, it's Sunday.
So
the final.
Sunday,
yeah,
excuse me.
Sunday
Yeah, Sunday
afternoon. So I hope to play golf. If everything works out, play golf that morning and get home and get settled in and watch the final.
I'm going to miss just kind of knowing that people are here and enjoying themselves. I'm going to miss that everything kind of goes back to normal and in America after this weekend, because everybody goes home. It's been a really cool couple months with all the tourists and just their experiences and everything. And I've loved it. And we're going to roll right into football after this. Baseball, they've already had the All-Star break. We luckily, the World Cup helped kind of ease the boredom of just it only being baseball for a little stretch there, even though I love baseball. But midsummer, it's just it's dead man's land, right? As far as news and stuff goes.
This is the week that you do a lot of the things like the ESPYs.
Media days.
It's like
or
the
whatever.
one day where there's nothing going on in sports on Wednesday.
That's why I didn't have a lot to talk about off the radar, because there's not a lot going on this week because it's MLB All-Star week. But yeah, it's been a really cool experience to see how all this has worked out. So I hope it ends on a great note. And I just don't know that we're ever going to have as fun of a year as we've had to this point with the Olympics and World Baseball Classic and obviously now the World Cup. And to have America so deeply ingrained in all of that as well, to have a rooting interest for it all.
Oh, yeah.
It's been a really fun run, 2026 in sports.
It's been a lot of fun seeing a lot of different reactions from different countries, fan bases. That to me is what I've enjoyed, not just with Freddie, but many, many others. Rez, fantastic job today. And Garrett Ross as well, Logan Bagessi, Andrew Valade, and Miracle, of course, a part of running the mothership as well. Thanks to our phenomenal sponsors. Thanks to you who watch us every day whenever you can. Craig Smoak, enjoy your day off and a 3-day weekend. I'm back tomorrow. This is 365 Sports on YouTube. Have a great rest of your night.